we are on Castle Falkenstein, this character creation for the alt-universe steampunk magitech Victorian alternative era game of high adventure, high romance, and as I am just at this second looking at this page, high-flown speeches, capital letters, and too many italics.
Yes.
Which I think pretty much encompasses the entire game, as far as I can tell.
Trying to describe Castle Falkenstein, I think, is like trying to describe Big Trouble in Little China. It's that far too many things to include.
Yeah. So,
well,
it's me in the driving seat today. So, playing, we have from left to right on my screen, we have HIntFishy.
Hello.
Nitebytes.
Howdy.
Chrono.
Hello.
And Neo.
Hi.
Greetings. So, yes. Anyone who's seen this before, Night and Fishy obviously are the regs. So we have new meat who've never encountered my game except over watching it. So now that's a slight.
Well, I've run for you, so now it's table turned.
Yes, oh gosh, yes.
Oh, cool. I didn't realise
that. Yeah, back at Dragon Meat.
Yes. Lots of shouting involved because that was noisy.
Yeah.
Oh god, yes. I think everything now has to be on flashcards. What are you rolling with this? Right, there are no rolls in Castle Falkenstein, as in dice.
Okay.
This whole game is done with your ability scores. Fishy needs to mute his phone.
Yes, I was just thinking exactly that.
So, okay.
You will have abilities which encompass both your traditional stats and your skills. And when you actually come to play the game and need to accomplish a task, you will be adding cards from your hand relatively speaking, because we'll be doing this over Roll20, to your ability in order to match a target number. So instead of dice, you'll be playing cards.
That's a bit how one of the Marvel systems worked, isn't it?
I think
Marvel
it is.
Saga system?
Possibly.
I've never played the Saga system.
No. I think I read
somewhere.
it. Yeah, I think I read it somewhere, but I'm not sure where.
I always thought it a bit weird, the two things it was used for, the Saga system, because it was Marvel superheroes and Dragonlance, and I never really saw a lot of crossover between those two.
No.
Sorry, what did you say, Chrono?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
In fact, that
was Neo. Okay. Sorry, I'm not yet at the pegging everyone's voice at instant, and I can only tell Fishy because his voice is 3 octaves lower than anyone else.
Fishy with a voice so deep only the whales can understand him.
Which explains your mic problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we do is we create your heroes. You do not get to create any villains. We are not at home to evil campaigns in this game. The setting of Castle Falkenstein is primarily the continent of New Europa, which is a fictionalized, borderline familiar version of Europe as it was around the Victorian era. You have Germany is not unified into one nation, which is a fairly large plot point.
Okay.
The leader of Prussia is Otto von Bismarck, who is terribly keen to have one unified Germany under him, and has already lost a war attempting such a thing.
So this is Otto von Bismarck and no Kaiser Wilhelm.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm not entirely clear what happened to Kaiser Wilhelm, but I don't think it was entirely pretty and probably involved a tank. So, yes, he is literally the Iron Chancellor. Think full-blown Bond villain, complete with artificial, fully functional metal arm.
Awesome.
We're going that way, yeah. Well, there is no cliche left unturned. So
he's got the white fluffy pussycat as well, has he?
I wouldn't like to say.
Probably.
That's probably between him and one of his mistresses.
So more Dr. Claw than Elric.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Mr. Quigley, I expect you to die.
Yeah.
Well, expect away, old boy. I'm afraid I really won't be able to accommodate you.
None of us are obliging in that department.
Yeah. So we have the nation of Bayern, which is essentially, if there are good guys in this setting, this is where they are. This is where the eponymous castle Falkenstein lives.
The nation of
Bayern.
as in
As
the
in
soccer team
Munich.
Bayern Munich.
Yes.
As in, yes.
For a guy that doesn't like soccer, that's not bad for me to work that one out.
That's all right. It took me ages to not have Munich tagged on the end when I was reading it.
Also, one of the states it's a pain to try and play in Europa Universalis.
Oh, yes.
I'll take your word for that one.
I thought
Yeah.
that was all of the states in Europe. I'm terrible at that.
Yeah,
game.
fair.
I love it, but I'm terrible.
Same.
That's yes. Oh God. How is it possible to lose completely in about 10 turns? Oh, that would be me. It's like me playing diplomacy.
Oh, yeah. Bad memories of diplomacy.
No, I got lumbered with Germany in my first ever game of diplomacy, and it was oh well then, never mind. I was like, fine. 3 invasions.
An online game with France with some of the other RQ guys, and yeah, Alex is as mean in that as he is in the game.
Also, he's a pussycat then.
Oh, he's sweet. I don't know why.
Up until the point he shoved the dagger in your back. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that. Oh.
Anyway.
Okay. Right. So the Netherlands are currently looking a little bit nervous because they've got Prussia on their doorstep. Prussia is currently making warlike noises. Well, pretty much always. Britain is on a mad march to steampunk power. There is an obsession with the industrial age that dwarfs even what happened in reality. The Industrial Revolution is ploughing ahead full blast. Side note, the Queen Victoria currently uses necromancers to speak to her dead husband.
Well, if they were available, she would have, let's face it.
Well, yes, yeah, let's be fair.
Yeah, that's pretty much a given.
As I said, there's no, aside from the leaders of such things as Prussia, there's no really villains in this. It is very much a sort of diplomacy style. It is the great game. It's moves and counter moves and trying to gain power without ending the world, ideally.
Although a fantasy version, it's still real-world politics where
It is, yeah.
Clear-cut good guys and bad guys. There's just lots of people with their own agendas.
So
Exactly.
really, the only clear-cut good guys are us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Basically, the clean-cut good guys are the ones who are trying to avoid the worst of wars. If they can avoid Prussia rolling over Europe, if they can avoid the Unseelie Court basically messing with humans to destruction, then they're going to consider it a win.
Okay.
And hence they have formed those with that aim have formed the new compact. The old compact is what stops the Unseelie courts simply strolling in and creaming humanity. It's a deal that was done many moons ago by the leader of the Seelie court, and it keeps everything at Cold War level instead of nuclear level.
Could they come in and flatten humanity?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that depends on whether Britain let them, really.
Yeah, you're playing Quigley, aren't
Yes,
you?
I may be playing an Englishman.
Specifically a Quigley. They're all like that.
Specifically a Quigley, yes.
Is there a steampunk version of Rule Britannia that we can play?
Rule Britannia, in fact.
I think that pretty much covers it, doesn't it?
Fair.
The world diverged from the world we know, not in, 100 years ago, 200 years ago or something. The first divergence was 79 million years ago.
The first divergence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other divergences have included, I believe actually no, it may have been 200 million years ago. It was when the asteroid hit the Earth.
You mean it didn't?
No, it did. It wiped
Okay.
out the dinosaurs. The only dinosaurs it didn't basically wipe out are those who ended up evolving into the dragons.
Dragons.
There were magic-using pterosaurs.
When you said dragons in Discord, I assumed it would be like some
Lizard
kind
folk or-
of faction or
No.
Now you have
metaphorical.
my interest.
I mean, if you've got fairies, why not dragons?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I think
Dragon-
this entire history is just because
Do they make saddles
to be able
for
to say that he'd gone further back than James
No, but they make
Krasinski with
carriages.
Babylon 5.
No, dragons are hyper-intelligent mega beings who remember everything. I remember everything
embarrassing.
right back to the origin of my species.
Are we talking genetic memory here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Those dragons get their whole own section at the end of character creation on the these are difficult to get in. If you do so, do it like this. But yeah, dragons are not much bigger than humans, height-wise, although much longer, and can shapeshift into borderline human form. Although they're all at least 6.5 feet tall, double-jointed, and have freaky eyes. So it's kind of hard to not notice that someone's a dragon.
And perhaps significantly, they're dragons.
They're dragons, yes. They are indeed. They are dragons.
Okay.
So
So this means we must
Never cut a deal with a dragon.
Yeah.
yep. Oh, so Shadowrun players then. Okay. In the world of Castle Falkenstein, there are 3 important kinds of people: heroes, heroines, and villains. All 3 reflect the style of this bygone age in that they're true archetypes of good and evil. So, you can mix and match the heroes and heroines tropes. If somebody, got 4 fellas in chat, don't know if one of you wants to play a woman, that's fine, obviously. And you can mix and match the different tropes for the different genders, but they're simply broken out in a, this is how you probably find them in fiction. So, and when it comes to occupation, there's really no restriction as to who can play what.
I have the simplest occupation of all: wealthy.
So, am I right then in thinking that there's no restriction on occupation by gender, unlike there would have been in the real world, Victorian
Yeah.
era? Okay.
Emancipation has happened far earlier in this. And one of the main things is that women have a greater tendency to carry the gene for the talent, otherwise known as magic. Magic was introduced to the human race 100,000 years ago by the fairies thinking, I know, this will be a laugh. And anyone who can do magic at some point down the line has a fairy ancestor. It's a bloodline thing. But it crops up more often in women. So you have a lot of very powerful women, and suddenly the whole right to vote thing is less in doubt.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So they still don't have that right in the United Kingdom.
They don't have that right in the United Kingdom, no, but they can own property, which is something that took far too long to happen in the real world. And I'm not going to get annoyed about it at all, that a woman couldn't have her own mortgage until the early 90s.
Wait, what?
I know, it was the late 80s. Maggie Thatcher, for example,
1880s,
could not...
you mean?
No. Maggie Thatcher, when elected Prime Minister, could not have had her own mortgage.
Nope.
As a
did not know
married
that
woman.
until just now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
One of those
Oh my
things that I don't think anybody ever still agreed with it at that point. It just wasn't changed for a very long time.
Laws that stay on the books because they get overlooked.
Yeah.
Yes. It was one of those, my mum told me, and I was Sorry. Off to the Google machine. Wait, what now?
Pretty much the same look that I just had on my face just now.
Exactly. So yeah, emancipation has sort of happened. Women do control a lot of power. A lot of society, which is where a great deal of the plots in the Great Game happen. Society, capital S, are controlled by women. Women host the salons. Women determine who is in style and who is not in style. They can open doors. The right contacts can put you in touch with the right people. Piss off the wrong woman, and you will not get invited to anything bigger than the barbecue. That sort of thing. So power is wielded in different ways. With occupation-wise for PCs, you're good to go. So, you can be heroic, tragic, or flawed. A truly heroic hero believes in honour, fair play, and the right thing. You won't find him sneaking up on the villain. No, sir, that's the coward's way. Heroic heroes are eternally optimistic, strongly principled, and very out in the open. They harm others only with great regret and will avoid killing if at all possible. So examples are Rudolph Rassendyll, John Carter of Mars, Sherlock Holmes, or Phileas Fogg.
I'm not entirely sure that John Carter of Mars is appropriate, given the number of people he slaughters in those books.
Yeah, but he's, he very rarely does it
He
himself.
does it heroically.
Yeah,
He
he does it up
people.
front.
Exactly, yeah. Does
They
it
know
from
it's
the-
coming.
Yeah, he's got that whole barbarian stealth going, you didn't see me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stealth by Conan.
exactly.
Well, Sherlock Holmes is a bit of a weird one there, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think to be honest, he doesn't fit anywhere else. And I think, to be honest, it's that he has his own set of morality and he damn well sticks to it the entire time.
Yeah.
I think
Holmes
that's
isn't really
probably
tragic
as
and
good
he
as
isn't
it.
flawed, so heroic is
Yeah.
the only one there that actually fits him.
The tragic hero. I'm sorry, this game is going to bring out the whole full-on RP terribly voice if I'm not careful. I apologise. The tragic hero is a heroic character with a dark side, something that's permanently given them a grim view of life. He may have lost a lover, been wrongfully imprisoned or accused, or otherwise ruined by fate and the perfidy of others. While his principles are the same as any other hero, his methods and style are very different. He wears black, stands, not lurks, in shadows, and will kill when he feels it is necessary. They're dark, brooding, and carries an aura of mystery with him wherever he goes. Yet he will always do the right thing. Oh my god, there are capitals.
Is there a TM after it? Right thing. TM.
OMT, I think that's...
It looks almost as if there should be.
And can be counted on to be as principled as the heroic hero. So I think the tragic hero as Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights is possibly reaching.
Yes, not entirely.
Yeah.
The whole, stalker psychopath thing. But hey, yeah. I think we can probably put our own twist on the tragic hero.
I suspect they will probably throw.
Atmos.
That sounds more like it. I mean, I suspect they'll probably throw any of the romantics into that category.
Yeah. Pretty much anyone who's willing to stand with hand on hip like this.
Right,
At parties.
I shall channel Percy Bysshe Shelley for this.
Yeah, this is before we get as far as picking your race. This species, this is the core of your being. Knight always stands like that.
Thank you, Rec.
Actually, I was thinking Fishy does.
Yeah, actually, I do a lot.
Been known.
Yes, I have photographic evidence, dear. Flawed heroes. Hello, Avon. Heroes who lack something in their basic morality. Oh, I was right. They are all too willing to sacrifice their principles for expediency. What distinguishes a flawed hero from the modern anti-hero? The flawed hero knows he's doing wrong and he regrets it. He tries to make amends wherever possible. If he steals from someone, he secretly puts money in a collection plate the next day. If he sees someone in trouble, he may turn away, but then finds himself returning to help anyway, unlike the heroic hero who immediately steps into the fray. Oh god, Quigley's going to get himself killed.
Flawed heroes are just awesome. They sound so much fun to play. If this wasn't a Quigley, I'd be going with a flawed hero.
Yeah. The most important difference between anti-heroes and flawed heroes is that the flawed hero seeks redemption. He wants to do the right thing, but either hasn't mustered up enough fortitude yet, or fate conspires against him. When you're a flawed hero, you constantly do little acts of good to make up for your failings in other things. A good example of a flawed hero is Harry Flashman. If you are familiar with the Flashman books.
I'm familiar with their existence, but I've never actually read any. I really should.
Yeah. It's kind of bastard for hire.
I thought
hi, Jay Gray.
Hero, Richard Sharp, that's another tragic hero.
Yes,
although
Richard
wasn't
Sharp.
around when this book was written.
Yeah. Sharp, very much tragic hero.
Yes.
And, yes. Now, everybody be polite on your best behaviour.
I like Jay Gray.
Yep. So, heroines. I'll give you the stereotypes for heroines. So, if you want to try and port one over, if you want to play a fella, or if
you
anyone
can
wants to play a
apply
woman.
either to either gender. They're just more
You can,
commonly
yeah.
found in these roles, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just a more traditional. The innocent heroine. The lady is a heroine because she is at heart an innocent. She's good because she knows no other way to be. She's honest, forthright, friendly and ladylike, and almost always beautiful. Good examples of this type are Lucy from Dracula or Princess Flavia from Prison of Zenda. And in my book, usually dead in about Act 3, but that's just me.
Sounds an awful lot like the NPC cleric in the Warhammer game.
Yeah. Yes, actually, she is pretty damn close. The clever heroine. Wit, brilliance and charm are her hallmarks. She knows the way of the world, can flirt, more than hold her own in conversation, and is well versed in the manners, mores and fashions of the time. Yet she is also kind, honest and determined to have justice done. The example here is Irene Adler, which is a little bit left at the traffic lights, but the traditional
She
scandal in
definitely fits the pattern.
Yeah. Hi, Dav. Nice to see you. The tragic heroine. Not the same thing as the tragic hero. The tragic heroine has had a great wrong wrought upon her. Her husband's been killed, her family fortunes dashed, or her personal life ruined. I'm really glad that's an or. It's either that or the worst week ever.
You know, I've just realised why I couldn't decide between a heroic hero and a tragic hero for my Quigley. It's because he's a tragic heroine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be using this version.
Okay. She continues to do right with quiet fortitude and patience despite her losses. She's noble and honourable. A good example of the tragic heroine might be Madame Bovary. Really, everyone kind of needs Google windows up for half the literary references. Just
I clearly need to read a hell of a lot more classic stuff.
I've been thinking that for years. One day I'll actually stop thinking it, start doing it.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant you were thinking I should read more classic.
Oh, that as well, obviously.
Okay.
I dived back into the Michael York Three Musketeers.
I love that.
So I think I've kind of got the right feel of this.
The Three Musketeers books, now those are something that I have read multiple times.
I've only read the first one, I think. The fallen heroine. The woman wronged, or the woman with a scandalous past. A divorce, a lover, or possibly an illegitimate child. Probably one led to the other, in all possibility. Even with all of society looking down at her or whispering behind her back, she still follows her principles and does the right thing. Like the flawed hero, the fallen heroine wants to be redeemed, to be accepted by society again after her misfortune.
You know, I could have been wrong. He might actually be fallen. Oh, this is so difficult.
I will be listening, I just need to step away from it.
Okay, no problem.
Sure.
Okay.
So, this game is almost entirely done with narrative character creation. So, no character sheets, so just a notepad file up so that you can put your character together in narrative fashion.
Good grief.
So, those are your core options.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it is fallen, in fact. Let me explain why, and you can tell me if you agree with me, because he could be a tragic heroine instead. I got Randolph's his nemesis, his social goal, his greatest what's the word I'm looking for? Damn it! His
regret.
proudest moment and his greatest
Proudest moment,
regret,
sorry.
all from the same place, which is that Randolph is the second son of the third Viscount Capelvale. However, he is in line to inherit, because while his elder brother has not actually been disinherited, he has been knocked out of the running for the title. He wasn't arrested because he managed to get away after he schemed against the crown.
Okay.
But it was Randolph who handed
Turned
over
him
the
in?
information to the authorities and got him done for it. So he is proud of having done so because he's supporting the crown and doing the right thing. He regrets doing so because it's his brother. His brother hates him for it, so there's his nemesis.
Yep.
And his social goal is to make people forget the name Aloysius Charles Quigley.
The brother.
So I think that probably comes out as fallen heroine, because really it's between tragic and fallen. I would
Yeah.
have said for that, but he's got this. He himself is a hero, but he's got this scandal in his past, which probably comes to as fallen.
Okay. So, what do the rest of you think? I know I put him right smack on the line between the
Yeah,
two. So.
because
Yeah, this is why I'm having difficulty.
if he was the one who basically instigated the acts against his brother, does that really make him fallen in the sense that he looks good out of this? Is that enough of a scandal to in terms of social? I mean,
Yeah. How far does guilt by association go?
yeah, I mean, is there honor? Is honor to family more important than honor to honor to the crown almost?
Yeah.
Well,
is it you betrayed
Clearly,
you
in
did the
Randolph's
right
case,
thing, but you
no,
betrayed your
because
brother?
It's a tricky one. I suppose
It
he
is.
could have dealt with it quietly instead of going to the authorities and creating a scandal, which might have made life better.
Maybe. I mean, to my mind, it sounds a bit more towards tragic than fallen. But I see how it does around the cusp.
Yeah.
I don't see a great wrong on Quigley, on our Quigley for this, because he's not the one that's been wrong. But I do see a lot of scandal, and in the eyes of society, you ratted out your brother to the authorities. That itself is a scandal. Stepping completely aside from whatever it was your brother did, you handed him over to the authorities. That's family. That to me is a fallen hero.
Certainly, you got one vote for fallen, one vote for tragic, one vote for slap on the cusp. This isn't going well.
I mean, when are we to take sort of like Victorian era morals as our guideline for this?
I think we have to.
Broadly, yes. Yeah. I've got an entire chunk on
Can I just
how
call
to
him a
conduct
tragically
duels.
fallen hero and leave it at that?
I mean, do these differences does this distinction make a difference game wise?
No,
In
the only
terms of
difference this would
reputation,
make-
really,
Yeah, I suppose.
there's so many social interactions. Having dark scandals in your past is going to
think
give you a very different social experience
I
to
think the
someone
tragic
who
heroine
doesn't.
people feel sorry for, whereas the fallen heroine people look down on.
Yeah.
In which
So-
case, I
Randolph
suspect
is
he might be
probably
more
smack
fallen
between the
here.
two. Some people are going to pity him for the need to do it, but I think within his own circles, I think more people are likely to disapprove. So
Yeah, because I suspect
probably
now
fallen.
it's it's like, oh, you have now benefited from this.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
he is going to be the Viscount now. So,
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah, fallen is probably more.
okay. I mean,
Okay.
In real terms, the only difference it makes is how the NPCs will view him, and slightly how I play the character, but not very much. He's going to be the same character largely, because he's so close to the edge that it's not going to make a big difference how I play him, which one we view him as. He will still be Randolph,
Okay.
whatever happens.
So,
Can you refresh my memory as
Go
to
for it.
which versions are the ones seeking redemption?
The ones seeking redemption are the...
That narrows down my choices.
Okay. You're after the flawed hero and the fallen heroine.
Okay, that gives me a choice of 2 then. Perfect, thank you.
Could you go over the description for clever again, please?
The clever heroine?
Yeah.
I noticed nobody's touching the fellas, they're just going for the women. Okay.
Far more interesting.
Well, the archetypes are more interesting.
They are, yeah. Wit, brilliance and charm are the hallmarks of this heroine. So it's someone who knows the way of the world, they can hold their own in conversation. I mean, the example of Irene Adler is one. I would lump in Mina Harker from Dracula.
Yeah.
Very sharp, very on the ball, socially and intellectually.
Yeah, because
kind, honest, and determined to have justice done.
Sure. I mean, that sounds more like the kind of thing I want to play, like a clever hero, as it were.
That's fine. I had a feeling we were. Let's face it, no game survives contact with the player group intact. I had a feeling we were going to be doing this. So, Neo,
Yes.
have you any thoughts as to an
only thing
archetype that
that-
appeals to you?
The only thing that struck out to me was Sherlock Holmes. That's the only thing I really know in all of that.
Okay. So a heroic hero, somebody who's going to step up to the plate, stand up for the little guy,
Yes.
and generally
but
get the party into a
We could
huge amount
probably
of
do with
trouble.
one
that
though.
also doesn't strike me as very Sherlock Holmesy.
Well,
He
depends on
varied.
how you view it.
Yeah.
Holmes was always more interested in justice than law. In several
Yeah.
stories, he let people go free despite them having actually committed a crime, because he felt that they were justified in doing so.
Yeah.
And he was very forthright in his way of approaching things. So
Yeah.
Yes.
he wasn't investigating from the shadows, as it were.
No, I mean, the biggest comparison I've got at the moment, because I've watched it recently, is Elementary. And that's probably not the best one either.
That's fine. I
What
personally,
little
I
of it
think
I've
it's
seen
time.
was quite good, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen a lot of it.
It's very good for an American twist on it.
Yeah.
Time to hit up Jeremy Brett, I feel.
Oh,
Good
no,
lord, yes.
Yes. Is that
Do you want
so you've got a small thing just after the wrap up?
I have.
Just after
Oh.
the
I have. You want to say hello?
Oh.
So you
Nearly
just had to
had-
upstage the cat, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh, come on! This stream should be a hit. We've got a cat, we've got a baby, we're
Yeah,
doing
we're sorted.
it.
We will get views now.
I'm trying to multitask.
Oh, that's fair enough. No, that's totally understandable.
Because obviously there's a lot of background noise.
That's baby. What are you gonna do? Last time I checked, they don't come with a mute button. Go. No. you can do
Neither
that.
does the sister.
Oh boy. No, you are welcome. If you need to shoot off and do stuff, go ahead. We are not going to complain at you. So, if you would like to note down the archetype that most appeals then, and that will be the start of your character diary.
This just in something like Word or something.
Yeah, it's going to be mostly for your benefit.
Okay.
But obviously I will take a copy of each file just so I know who I'm dealing with, because that's going to, when I write plots, I like to really target them at the people I am dealing with to really, get the knife in. Sorry, to really make them focused. Naughty trap. Villain archetypes, by the way, are either honourable or dishonourable. It largely comes down to, are they going to stab you with their sword cane from behind or in front? I just can't help thinking they are the full-blown hooded claw at this stage. I'll get you, Penelope Pitstop. Right.
Have we got to create our own names?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
You do. I will be astounded if nobody comes up with a Carruthers.
It's a good era for Carruthers.
It is. The only person who doesn't get to create a second name is if anyone wants to play a dwarf. Dwarves come in with one name and have to earn their second name. And I wasn't looking at Night when I said this. It's a beard. What am I going to say?
Well, given that you know the name I was going for,
Yeah.
earning that name
Yes.
would be impressive, or decidedly less than impressive.
Yeah, that's somebody who really, really puts some effort in.
That's someone who rolls dice or draws cards like fish.
Yes. Okay.
I still don't know whether to go flawed or fallen. It was fallen that was the other redemption, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Fallen is evil
the
has
fallen
happened,
hero
has been
wishes
done to you.
Yeah.
It's a matter of whether you want to redeem yourself for your own flaws or redeem yourself from what's happened to you.
Yeah. Essentially, where you were borderline villain or where you were victim.
Sorry, I've just read Jay Gray's comment in chat. Buttercup atomic splitter.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm now
Only
suddenly.
well.
A dwarf who knows how to go nuclear.
Yep.
Yes,
If anybody is going to do it, it'll be the dwarves.
probably, yeah.
They are fairies. Dwarves are of the fairy. Well, they were way back when of the fairies, and they sacrificed their fairy abilities in order to be able to work cold iron and engineer.
Okay.
So they have a mystical connection to mechanics and working with metal. So all the borderline magical stuff of the steampunk era, that's dwarven engineering. So yeah, all it's going to take is
technology so advanced as to be indecipherable from magic.
yeah, we're into Clark's Law time.
Sounds like old dwarves should be northern. I might want the case, but somehow, whenever you find any industrialist in period drama, in period fiction in Britain, they're all northern.
Yeah, and you start talking like your relatives.
Yep. What's the point in having relatives if you can't talk like them?
Fair enough. Okay. So, what is a dramatic character? This is what you guys are playing. The PCs are called dramatic characters in this, which I think just adds. Everything is big print in Castle Falkenstein. The plots may be subtle, but subtle doesn't mean the same thing as it does in modern language, I think. Right. How do I create a dramatic character? Sorry, just let me have a look. There are sample characters in this game. If you've played Deadlands, then you'll know the sort of thing that I'm talking about. It's outline characters. They're not slavish templates to be followed, but they give you an idea of what somebody of that occupation would be like, or what they would do, or where their abilities would be strongest.
I recommend paying attention when glancing through the titles because they have not actually given us the sample dramatic character of the Antichrist. So, Anarchist is on the first page.
For those who haven't got the book up, and in fact, why should that be me? Because I have it. Hang on. There we go. We do indeed have the Anarchist as an option. So what I'm going to do is I will run down the sort of the occupation list, for want of a better term. And if anything leaps out at you, yell, and I will go into the detail, because there are quite a lot. Chrono, did you say you were interested in a fairy character?
Yes.
Still? You still interested? Okay. I will buzz straight to them then.
Do they have a separate set of?
There are 3 types of fairy which are pretty much usable out of the box. There are a buttload of fairy types.
Right.
But there are 3 that are really suitable. So I will run down those ones as I get to them, and point those up. But for the most part, otherwise you can just sort of generally listen along, see if anything leaps out at you. Okay, adventurous. I'm guessing by the deafening silence that that's a no.
It's not a no. I'm just waiting to see what else there is.
Okay, fair enough. Let's put it this way: were I playing, the odds are good that I would leap straight to adventurous. It's the 2-gun wielding, sword fighting, horse riding.
McCree.
Yeah. It's Miranda Richardson's Highwayman in Blackadder 3.
She was
Oh, good grief.
She would be an adventurous.
I have never watched Blackadder, so I do apologise.
Oh, good lord.
Oh my god.
Even the missus just said sacrilege.
They miss
Yes.
a lot of jokes.
Yeah, indeed, the original Red
I enjoyed
Sonja.
Mr. Bean. That's about it.
Yeah, Valeria from Conan. Very much
Yes, she's
adventurous.
definitely an adventurous.
Yeah. Okay, so adventurous, anarchist. Moving on. The first fairy option, which is brownie.
Brownies. Are they chocolate?
They're Irish.
I was waiting
So-
for that.
Are the fairy options basically more racial than
Yeah.
occupation driven?
Yeah, they
Okay.
are. Yes, I mean they do have their own abilities, talents, but the different races of the fairies have different powers.
Okay, so
that's an integral part of the
sure.
makeup.
Okay.
I am not going to do that accent. I can read it, and I'm not going to do it. It's a bit. What's that then, Ted? I need to get you to do it as Hamus Fish.
Yeah, we need that Skelliger accent again, Fishy.
Yeah. A brownie's life is better spent doing great labours, playing great jokes, and setting things right about the house or farm. Behind the scenes, of course, it would never do to have one of those lumping mortals following you around as you worked your miracles, would it? Next, they'll be leaving you money rather than a bit of cheese and a bowl of milk. They are, generally speaking, good at marksmanship with an elf-shot bow, perception and stealth. They have the fairy power perform a great work, where you're granted the ability to do the labour of many men in a single night. The number of men is based upon your level of power, and the task must be accomplished from sundown to sunup, traditionally.
There
That's
are
a
many
fun
lewd
night.
comments that could be made about that, but we're not going to do that.
I had decided to rise above such roses.
So did I. I just wanted to make it clear to you that they were there and we were going to rise above them.
Oh, I see. You're deliberately rising above them. It's not that they just went straight over your head.
Absolutely.
Good to know. You might start with a suit of mouse fur, for example.
How big is a brownie?
Really not very.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking sort of like shoemaker elf.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
If-
maybe not.
It's the Rumpelstiltskin. It's the yeah.
Yeah, it is. So yes, I'll probably move. You're only 12 inches tall.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the kind of thing I'm going to play.
No. Calculation engineer. The future is in calculation science, and with it, mankind can master the world. You've studied and mastered the skills of the calculation engineer, the rare breed that builds and maintains the mighty engines shaping science and industry. Dr. Babbage and his disciple Lady Ada Lovelace are your idols, for they've single-handedly brought about this revolution of mind over gross matter. Magitech computing, basically, is the calculation engines, the Babbage engines. So anything that we use computers for, essentially, that's what they'll be using for. So, unless you actually want to be a computer programmer,
Could we run an MMO on them?
probably, but you really wouldn't want to do it. Probably end up somewhere in Fairy.
Or you'd end up with Sunless Sea. It's
Either Sunless Sea or Discworld.
Yeah, everyone's suddenly looking askance at the bats. Consulting detective.
This sounds interesting to me.
I will give you a little bit of background. Most people you think of as fictional in Victorian or Victorian set literature they're probably out there.
So again, Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes is out there. He's just started his practice. He hasn't met Dr. Watson yet. Dracula is roaming somewhere in Prussia, avoiding Van Helsing, who'd very much like to stick a stake through his heart.
Presumably Van Helsing isn't a consulting detective.
No, he's a scientist. However, equally, you've got the writers. You've got Arthur Conan Doyle potentially kicking around. You've got Edgar Rice Burroughs knocking around at the same time as John Carter, who is the warlord of Mars with the psychic ability to project people across space to Barsoom.
So does that mean that the writers that we know are actually biographers in the game?
Largely.
Okay.
Well, Conan Doyle can't be, because that's Watson's role. Unless Conan Doyle is the biographer of Holmes's biographer.
Unless it's a nom de plume.
No.
That's possible.
Ada Lovelace is working on the virtualism engine. Oh, yes, please. I think that may be in the Steam Age book, which I do actually have in physical copy. So yes, consulting detective is Sherlock Holmes. If that leaps out at anybody.
Possibly.
Would you like the read up on that?
A little bit of yes, please. Actually, I can see it on your screen.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could.
Yeah, and until you say there's all sorts of nasties that we shouldn't be seeing, I've got your stream up.
If there's nasties that I don't want you seeing, I'll take it down. So they specialise in education, in marksmanship and perception.
I'm going to put a pin in that and see what else is there.
Okay. Dashing Hussar. You are no mere soldier, you're one of the elite military officers of your King-Queen Empire, delete as applicable. A dashing cavalryman whose skill on a fast horse is unmatched, also a feared duelist and marksman. Your regiment's the best of the best, and you strut your stuff resplendently in a dazzling uniform, and I don't know why I'm giving you the details, except I have a horrible feeling Neo might want this. Your glittering weapons at the ready to challenge any insult to honour or bravely accomplish any mission required by your commanders. Sharp with a layer of polish. This one's going to be tricky. Demi-mundane. The adventurous may be right. You needn't marry a man to get ahead in this world, but why get dirty and wear tacky clothes while doing it? You've learned to make men your playthings, bending their silly, puny wills to accomplish your every whim. With a pout, a smile, and a well-placed word, you could overturn the thrones of New Europa or shape the course of empires as well as any diplomat. Your lover's a legion, your beauty legend, and all New Europa, the male half at least, is prostrate at your dainty feet. Theoretically, you could have a male demi-mundane, but they'd be tricky.
Are we going with real-world Victorian attitudes to sex and sexuality?
I'm not.
Okay.
I tend to operate more on a your duty is more important than frankly what you're getting up to. I don't see anybody getting beaten up behind the club for hanging out with a chap rather than
okay,
ladies,
so openly queer is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm willing to go with that, to be honest. So it's one of those things. It's probably the least interesting thing about the characters.
Yeah. Just if I was thinking about it, because I wouldn't want it to be, I'm always going to get beaten up or something like that.
No.
I would say worst case, don't
historical accuracy.
No, there's very few things where I'm going to go that historically accurate.
Good.
And if nothing else, it's not useful to have people
Yeah.
So highly skilled in weaponry and martial arts, for example. And according to J. Graham, France or Bayern, not entirely scandalous. I'm assuming that's the demi-mondaines.
Maybe both.
Well, yeah. So no, that's not a problem with that. Diplomat. HIntFishy. Perhaps. Would you like the write-up on that one? Or shall I just move on?
You can move on as far as I'm concerned. I'm taking this from first principles.
Okay.
I've looked through the sample dramatic characters already and got an idea of the way things work, and I'm just building quickly from the ground up.
Okay, showing off now. Dragon. Dragon. Specifically Dragon Lord. Exactly, Jay Gray. I was reading up on the Fae, and yeah, there's a degree of, and what am I going to do today?
Yes.
Dragon Lord, cat-eyed, slender, and immensely tall. For hundreds of years, you've periodically come down from your mountain home to walk among humans in man-like form. So
now you've piqued my interest.
Sometimes it's to gather items for your collections. Dragons are collectors in this. They
collectors in
are
everything. They just normally collect shiny gold coins.
Yeah, they are obsessive collectors.
I've got a cabinet full of models behind me.
Yeah, I'm thinking there is Fishy's game collection, and I'm looking at Knight's first bow that I can see over there.
Yeah, that's the one that is visible on camera.
Yeah, that's the one that's visible on
That's
It's
the
camera.
one
not
that's
reasonable
edition.
at all to say
The other half
there
dozen.
is Fishy's game collection. Because if you want
No?
to do a there is Fishy's game collection, it has to be there, 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 up there.
Not unlike Knight's bow collection.
Yes, and my sword collection is out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
obsessives. Hey Mecky, how you doing?
Hey, Mackie.
Good
Hey,
evening,
it's all
Michael.
going really strange and getting people to great characters. Okay. Yes, sometimes it's to gather items for your collections. The centerpiece of a dragon's life is maintaining his personal museum of artifacts and wonders. Other times you seek a mate. It's much easier to locate and seduce a willing human virgin these days than in the past when you had to flame a village or two.
So does that mean there's no female dragons?
There are female dragons, yes. Female dragons are rarer, however. There is an imbalance in the percentages. Male dragons come down, seduce, whip the children away.
Don't
Female
think I want to know
dragons,
how that ends up coming out.
they are in humanish form.
So they're not an egg.
No, well, no. She says, not
If
having
you have
checked.
dragon, you have egg.
Yes, I've seen Carnosaur, and I'm not having anybody giving birth to eggs. Just no.
That would be easier than giving birth to a dragon.
No. Well, no. Born human, okay. It's okay, Jay Gray. We're largely joking, but there was that tiny twinge. So yeah, there are male and female dragons. Besides, you've gained a taste for fine wines and cuisines, and feather beds are preferable to stone cave floors. And since you never forget anything or anyone, you've learned to treasure the friends and experiences you've enjoyed over your many human lifetimes.
That counts that out. My memory's rubbish.
Fair enough.
If you're playing a dragon, the GM just has to remind you of anything that you've
Yeah.
experienced in the past.
Yeah.
That's when Notepad becomes my best friend.
Yeah.
Mecky, I was reading a story today about a woman who gave birth to a 15-pound baby.
I was going
I
to say,
can
Should be a baby in that sentence.
What would it be?
I can only imagine. And just be really grateful I never had kids.
Context, trust me. Context.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, all dragons are born learning to... Cool. All dragons are born learning to cast fire from their mouth. So dragons can breathe fire.
Yeah.
Whiskey, lighter, job done.
Okay, and they can shapeshift between dragon form and human form.
Cool.
The
So-
Dragonborn in D&D really were late to the party, weren't they? You had dragons in Falkenstein. Talislanta had a lizard race that looked very like Dragonborn. Everyone had them long before D&D did.
Mm. Dwarven craftsman. If anyone's interested in playing a dwarf. The mechanistic end of fairies. No? Okay, moving on. Explorer. Sorry. You've travelled from the snow-capped mountains of High Tibet to the wilds of darkest Africa. Your goal, to leave no section of the earth unknown to man, to uncover all of its secret places, lost cities, hidden temples, and fabled treasures. Your writings grace the pages of the popular press, your learned papers fill the archives of the Geographical Society, and your exploits are the stuff that dime novelists can only dream of. You follow in the... Yeah.
Phileas Fogg.
Phileas Fogg. Phileas Fogg exists, may or may not be human. No one's quite sure.
Damn, he's not an anthropomorphic cat.
Who knows? Who knows? Shape-shifting is a thing.
Oh no, he's
And
a Raksha.
And he was a lion, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yes, I used to watch Around the World with Whitley Fogg.
Same.
But then also...
Staple of my childhood.
Yes, also Mysterious Cities of Gold.
Yep.
And... D'Artagnan and the Three
I was
Muskehounds.
just about to say, it still worries me that D'Artagnan and the Three Muskehounds is probably the closest adaptation of the book ever to be committed to film.
Yeah, I mean, that is primarily how I know the Three Musketeers. So.
Yeah,
Then
it was
you
certainly
know
my
them
first
pretty
encounter.
well.
Milady, by the way, adventurous, fallen
Yes.
maiden. Okay, so explorer. You're thinking Challenger, you're thinking Lara Croft.
Good lord, Challenger, yes.
Fairy Lord, or Fairy Lady, which largely is interchangeable.
Yeah.
The Dwan She. Not for you, the never-changing world of the fairy vale, with its stylized court and unending perfection. Oh, its perfection can get so dull.
Indeed.
You hunger for the mortal world, where love is spontaneous and full of passion, where lovers have real flaws, and where things are never predictable. You're a traveller and observer, but you also enjoy trying every new sensation, whether it's a new food, an unfamiliar song, or an intriguing new friendship. On this side of the veil, you truly feel alive. Perhaps you'll even get involved in real danger and risk your immortality against a cold iron blade.
I think this is probably what I will go for.
Seems likely. And also, I don't know if you have the stream up, but that is an awesome, awesome outfit for the
Yeah, so
I didn't think that was the Explorer.
No.
yeah, my thought was basically elven diplomat sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, we can have a look at that, and I'll head back and have a butcher's at the
Yeah.
diplomats, so you can see what they're more likely to use,
Sure.
and you can mix and match. Okay, fairy power for them is enchantment. With this power, you're granted the ability to bend the wills of mortals to your bidding. Billing? What happened there?
Top
Charge them just for being there.
Yes, they're excellent bailiffs. To charm and enchant them, or to make them fall in love with you. So yeah, that's the sort of thing. Yeah, I think, yes, we can safely say, fairy, you are going to be of the Dwan She. Which I'm slightly flinching because I'm having Witcher flashbacks now. Gentleman Thief. Just looking askance at anybody?
Oddly, given what I've already told you, no.
Okay. So Raffles then. Lupin is active in Paris. Ah. Oh, Mechiador's lost the plot. Yeah, no wonder. A gentleman or gentlewoman. Fishy?
Told you I'm building mine from the ground up.
Oh, you're building yours
Yeah,
from the ground up.
yeah.
Sorry, I guess, of course.
It's an aristocratic adventurer, if you want to put a name to it.
No, you don't have to. That's fine.
And so, if you want to, that's what it would be.
Okay. I know, because I know your Quigleys.
He's very different to Hamilton.
Oh, God, yes. No, there's a central core of Quigliness.
But there is a central core of Quigliness that should feature in all Quiglies, yes. Even Midas had it, but it's hidden more in him.
Mm. Fairies, by the way, if they break a promise, that's it.
Okay, so it's oath breaking, not so much lie telling.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think we might be talking sort of, to go Magnus for a moment, I think we might be looking sort of Elias levels of obfuscation. Not actively coming out and saying, kind of going round the houses to get there. So, gentlemen, gentlewomen, you're the bastion of the Empire in England, the maintainers of... really? I don't speak German. Becky? Can you
Apparently
read
they
that?
can quibble.
Yeah.
So, what exactly is it that you want Meki to do? Read the word that you can't pronounce and then type to you how it's pronounced?
I was
Don't
thinking
think
just
that
a
will
translation.
work.
No. I
Type it
apologise. I apologise. Gemütlichkeit, possibly.
Gemütlichkeit.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it if you speak German.
Sorry, I'm not seeing the word. Is it in one of the chats?
No,
If you
it's
look, if you look
actually.
on Drut's stream,
Yes,
it's the italicized word that's on the page on screen.
GEM.
Gemütlichkeit.
Okay.
Sorry, the
Yeah, that's it,
yeah,
Mickey.
it's a bit blurry, but yeah, Gemütlichkeit.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the one, Meki.
I can pronounce it. That's not a word I'm familiar with though.
Well, Meki says you got the pronunciation quite right, so that's fair enough.
It has
Gemi-
the words "in Vienna" written after it, so I'm guessing
Gemi-
we'll just bow to Meki on this.
Yeah, gemütlich is comfortable, if I remember my German correctly.
Yeah.
But it's been about 20 years since I've used my
Fair
German,
enough.
so.
Fair enough.
Mickey, can you translate for us,
Yeah.
please?
Aha!
Ah, well done.
Okay.
Chrono is awesome. What's the rest of the name?
Yes. I actually wait with bated breath, to be honest. The masters of mistresses of style and propriety throughout Europa, frequenting only the most select clubs and associating with only the right people. Your dress is impeccable and reflects breeding and good taste. Your entertainments are refined and educated. You're known for your sense of honour and fair play, and your word is your bond. You may occasionally run with a fast crowd, but you're always careful to keep up the side and do the right thing. You pay your gambling debts, don't gossip to outsiders, and stay out of the wrong bedrooms around the servants. So that's the gentleman. I think if anyone's sort of uncertain, that might be a fallback. Inventor. Professional or amateur. Just imagine the number of sheds that have gone up in smoke.
I used to
Or
build
indeed,
sheds for a living.
if they're dwarven inventors, the number of sheds that have gone up in a little mushroom cloud.
Sure.
Or now are a little mushroom. They're looking there going, how'd that happen? And can we repeat it? Yes, the shed inventors are in a constant arms race with the actual inventors.
See, now I want to play a dwarven shed inventor.
I can see that. I love this game already. I love this game.
Oh dear.
I'm not going to, but I'm going to keep that idea as a backup.
Yeah. Just in case you caught the wrong end of a sabre or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
What?
shed salesmen are the dwarven equivalent to used car salesmen. Or possibly double glazing salesmen. Turn up on your
yes.
doorstep saying, with a big catalogue, full of nice new sheds and upgrades they can make to the one that you've got.
Yep. Okay. Journalist.
Possibly.
Okay. The story's the thing, gents, and when there's a story to be had, no one's better at winnowing it out than you. From the haunts of high society at Marienbad and Cowes to the dark alleys of Berlin and Soho, you're on the spot, digging up the dirt and taking it to Fleet Street and the presses as fast as you can travel. Certainly your stories about the follies and frivolities of society don't make you popular with the fast set, but with their scandalous ways they can profit from a little they can profit from a little discomfiture. And you like to think your exposés on government officials and social issues are just your way of making sure corruption and injustice don't go unopposed. It's your job to keep the public informed, and by God you'll do it no matter what your detractors throw against you.
Also a possibility, thank you.
Okay. Mad scientist. And now I'm kind of glad we don't have Robinson in chat. Because
he would be a dwarf mad scientist or something.
He would be a dwarf and mad scientist, yes.
Almost certainly.
They called you mad at university. God. Oh boy.
They will see the meaning of the word mad.
Does
Mad,
the
I
speech
say.
feature the words, I'll show them at any point?
Yes, I think yeah.
No, your
No.
mad science is giving our regular science a bad name.
Yes.
It's science in block caps.
It's in italics.
It's good enough.
And things man was not meant to know is in capitals though.
Ah, yes, of course.
Yes.
Superb.
To create life, to master invisibility, to release the hidden dual nature within each of us. And bonus points, we can identify all of the books. By the way, a minor chemist called Griffin is wandering around with a lot of bandages on at the moment.
Oh, love it.
Griffin.
That's Invisible Man?
That is
Yeah.
the Invisible
Yeah.
Man.
It took a while for the penny to drop. I do
No, it's
apologise.
fine. No, it's fine.
I think I know that.
Yep.
That's.
So this Victorian era is very fantasy in a way.
Oh, yes.
Very. There is magic. There is
That's-
steampunk.
There is mad
It's
science.
pulpy.
That's going to prove interesting.
Yeah, very. I like it, but it is deranged. It's wonderful, but it is barking bonkers.
It suits this group perfectly.
Just
in
the
the
way I
best,
like it.
Yeah, in the best way. Okay, mastermind. Moving on. Dark and brooding.
I'm listening.
You have turned away from the world and its foul, corrupting influences. Instead, you focused your great intellect on creating a great infernal device. I think we may be into villain characters here.
You lost me at
Yeah.
great intellect.
Yeah.
All your efforts have been bent to the realization of your ultimate goal and its release upon the unsuspecting, wicked world, and you will not be denied your day.
That really does sound like a villain right there.
Captain Nemo is kicking around in this setting. I have a feeling he will be a mastermind.
Yeah, that sounds like a mastermind.
Yeah.
Nemo has
Yeah.
a definite mastermind.
I like-
Yeah, or
like-
to him.
the kind of was bullied at school and now will, in order to get back at the ruffians.
Yes.
The more we
For-
go
for the
through
good of
this, the more I
society.
think of
Yeah.
League of Extraordinary
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that in this setting, Jules Verne was actually the guy kidnapped by the Nautilus for 20,000 Leagues. He was writing under a pseudonym. So it wasn't Professor Aronnax.
I'm trying to remember the character from the end of Blackadder II now. Is it Ludwig the Indestructible?
Oh,
Yes.
the German Baron who captures him. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Hugh Laurie.
Yes.
So yes, the examples from J. Gray, Nemo, Moriarty. Oh, I'm sorry, J. Gray, we really are ripping this to. We're not doing this terribly seriously at all, are we? I feel kind
But
of
is
bad
that not
about
the
this.
right to put your own
Yeah.
twist on it?
Twisted is about.
Oh.
Oh, don't! You're becoming me adorable next. About 3 people do that. I don't know how to cope. Okay. Nobleman.
I
As
love
opposed
the
to
in your
gentleman.
diary sections it, by the way,
Yeah.
in these dramatic characters, which we're not getting. But Mastermind, in your diary, crazed mad rants about your enemies, plans for using your device to gain vengeance, wildly utopian visions of the future, master plans to rule the world. Just love this stuff.
Victor Von Doom rules. That sort of
Yeah.
thing. Nobleman, as distinct from gentleman. Someone a little bit further up the class ladder.
Yes, more the Quigleys of this world.
Yes. Inheritor of a proud name and a noble lineage. In your history are kings, queens, and princes of the new European ancestry. Aristocracy, even. Oh. As well as vast estates and honourable titles granted to your ancestors through generations of service to crown and country. The family name is all, and you've preserved it intact, even if your financial fortunes have fallen on hard times.
Nope, I did that the other way around. The family name, unfortunately, went out the window.
Yeah,
But we've got the money.
Yeah, your family name needs polishing again.
Yes, it does.
I love the fact sword cane. There we go. Sword canes are things.
Yes.
Noblewoman comes with money, fame, and corsets. Basically, yes. Becky. Performer.
Randolph does carry a sword cane, by the way.
Of course he does. Absolutely. And that wasn't taking the mickey. That was just yes. I would expect nothing less.
I mean, I'd originally written it as cane, but I've just added the word sword.
Yep. This is another area where apparently women tend to outstrip the fellas, is in celebrity. So, performer, although there may be equal numbers, the really famous ones who can cause a stir across the entire continent tend to be women. Acting, opera singing, interpretive dance. These are the realms in which you excel. More than a mere dance hall chanteuse or actor, your talents are applauded by audiences across New Europa.
I'm guessing you'll shoot one of us if we play a mime.
No. It will be fine.
Interesting if these do ever get edited for podcast, however.
Yes. Yeah. Every 5 minutes, just pausing for the benefit of those listening in audio, watching in audio only. Yeah, I am actually. I've had now 4 requests to do so, to transfer these to pure audio.
Really?
Yeah. From various different people.
It is
So
a far more convenient format.
It is. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to bite the bullet and do so.
But
Yay.
unfortunately, stuff that is recorded without really thinking about it being pure audio is a bit tricky. Because
Yeah, because you've got the multi-channel issue.
Just doesn't come out well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'm not saying that the sound quality is going to be the most fantastic. I would far rather get people around a table, but since that's not a physical possibility, it's just the way life is.
Yeah, and we're not going to get everyone to traipse up to the Rusty Quill studio to.
Yeah, hi, can we borrow it for a couple of hours? No problem.
Now, if we thought that was an option,
if everybody was in London, it would be an option.
wow.
I'm sure I could lean on Alex to loan us the studio, but
now I have right. We're staying in London for Halloween, okay?
well, actually, like if the reality of a special, or if a special could be on the cards, I can talk to Alex. He may say no, but I can always talk to him. About doing an in-studio recording.
That actually, yeah, that is a serious thing. Potentially, yes.
That would be really cool.
That would. God, I haven't been in the studio for ages.
Just reading Jagray's comment there in chat.
Sorry, it's just gone straight up straight off the top of the chat. Suddenly gone.
I had considered myself when we were talking about this before, that the best way to do it would probably be for everybody to try and catch their own audio, and then that gives you those individual audio channels to work with after the fact.
Well,
Yeah.
I can try that for
works.
next. I'll try that for next session, and see how that comes out.
Yeah. That would actually be incredible. Otherwise, I'm just going to nick probably Knight's audio feed because he's got the mixer and probably has the best audio of all of us.
That's
No
entirely
pressure.
possible.
Sorry, says the person. You're sitting there with that audio phone
Yeah,
behind
you've got
you.
the phone behind you. It's
You just
unless
we're
you
thinking
start
you might
using
be
a green screen, you're not going to be able to claim not to.
yeah. Okay.
You realise though, he'd just cheat. You'd press play to listen and see what the sound quality was like, and all you'd get is just a drum track.
Yes.
I wasn't going to warn you of that one.
Okay.
Meanwhile, back at character creation.
Meanwhile, just after we're only on P. Come on, guys. Pixies.
I'd like a pee, please, Bob.
There's a queue.
Pixies. You can sleep in a rosebud with a petal for your
I
coverlet.
think we can skip past this.
You thought brownies were bad, and pixies are this big.
Wow.
They have
Okay.
tiny swords. It's Toot Toot from the Dresden Files.
They don't have
Yes.
swords, they have toothpicks.
Yeah, they do.
As interesting as it might be to play Tinkerbell, I am. I may leave that to a backup character.
That's when you
Oh.
merge the performer and pixie characters into one.
Oh, well, there's an image. By the way, they can do love charms. You grant the ability to cause others, either mortal or fairy, to fall into a consuming passion for another person.
Oh, that could be dangerous.
Could be
very,
nothing.
Terribly
very
fun.
dangerous.
Yes.
Terribly, terribly fun.
Rogue. Some
listening.
call you a cad and a bounder. You call yourself a realist, an honest blackguard in the world of sanctimonious hypocrites.
No, sorry, going with Cad and Bounder.
Rob, sorry, Knight, would you like me to carry on with the rogue?
Yeah, briefly.
Because, okay, you pride yourself in the skills of your trade, a natural talent with cards and dice.
No,
Dice!
done.
Ooh!
At that point, I'm done.
Gambling and the ruination of the fairer sex.
Nope, that's not Carter. Not at all.
Okay. That's actually James Bond. The way the rogue is written up, it's Bond.
It is quite Bond, yes.
It's the nice suits while being the living between.
Yeah.
Get the gadgets, though.
Oh, gadgets
It
are in
depends
here.
how many dwarves you know.
Well, yeah.
Or scientists.
Yes. Scientist. So not the mad scientist. This one presumably doesn't write in all caps. It's not on various message boards. Not for you, the undisciplined experimentation. So a member of the Academy of Sciences. So, yeah. You are as much a scientist as the mad scientist. It's just you might not blow up quite so many people. Secret agent.
Listening.
Leave the diplomat and the hussar to boast of their patriotic accomplishments for sovereign and country. You're the one who gets the job done. When the diplomat's secret papers need to be recovered or the mastermind's infernal device must be located and destroyed, you are the woman of the hour, with your stealth, charisma, and daring do. You've also got a pocket full of hidden devices, at least 10 secret identities, and contacts worldwide to help you accomplish your dangerous missions and save the day.
See, this too is Bond.
It is, yeah.
And he doesn't have the secret identities. He's always Bond.
Yeah, mix
James
rogue
Bond.
and Bond, and mix rogue and secret agent, and you've
And you have-
basically
yeah.
got Bond. Okay.
What are the strong suits for the?
Athletics, marksmanship, and stealth. Yeah, fair enough, Jay.
Yeah.
Also, in your diaries, addresses of your many affairs of the heart, code names of contacts in other countries, tales of your exploits in code.
So there you go. Come up with a cipher for.
Oh, great! You're going to be on the Caesar 13 page, aren't you? I got very confused until somebody said it's actually a link. God. Soldier of Fortune. Perhaps you served with dignity and distinction and mustered out to a retirement too quiet and too soft to be born. Oh, it's the Equalizer.
Or Bulldog Drummond, but a little bit earlier.
Yes. Bullshot, you're so terribly fair.
That's the original Quigley, of course. Hamilton was based on Bulldog Drummond.
Yeah. And roughly half of Middlesex. Or would when father died. Or perhaps you were marched out on the drumhead, a false accusation and the court-martial ringing in your ears. Either way, since you left your regiment, sword and skills have been for hire to the highest bidder. Your price isn't always gold, sometimes it's love, a cause, or principle. Wherever
so we're talking 18.
Yeah, 18 would do it.
Yeah.
I can just imagine B.A. Brackus in this period.
Yeah. Again, by the way, I'm not drawing any particular distinction on colour if people want to play different races. Various of the European nations have got various empires.
In his accent.
So I'm up for. I'm not basically just drawing any distinction. It's purely descriptive.
Someone likes the cat tail over this side.
Okay. Oh.
I've just seen a comment in my chat. That cat tail.
Ah, sorry. It was Pippin tentacling again. Yes, I'm sorry. You fed him all of 10 minutes ago.
I fed him immediately before the stream, so therefore he wants to be fed. Yes.
Uh-huh.
So in a quick query before we go too much longer.
Okay.
You mentioned dragon lords earlier.
Yeah.
That are dragon in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they sit in relation to humans?
Generally in their own houses next door.
So they're on par. They're not.
They are respected and feared, but they are people. They're not. They will spend time living up their mountains and such, but when they come down to circulate amongst humankind, they are, of nobility. And Jay Grace just popped up in chat to say a dragon is automatically considered a minor noble.
Makes sense. They are dragons, after all.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough, but I know you mentioned earlier that our carriages were said dragons.
Yes, I was being sarcastic. It's okay. Not sarcastic. I was being facetious.
That's fair enough. That's why I didn't want to get.
Yeah,
confused.
no. Dragons can wander around in either draconic form or human form. Obviously, human form is easier to get through doors. But even dragon form, you're looking at about 6 feet high, and then probably as much again tail.
When we say dragon form, are they winged?
Yep.
So transport's not an issue.
No, they can fly. They can fly because they have a form of levitation. It's not just the wings.
Is that levitation present in human form as well?
I would need to check. They can have access to all the spells they know, and they can know any spell. They have access to all the spells in both human and dragon form. But there are some specific draconic powers that they don't have when they're in human form.
And we can mix these professions.
If you're a dragon lord, you're a dragon.
Yeah, I understand about the species, but I'm about the profession.
Yeah, no, if you are a dragon, that is it. That is
okay.
what you do.
However, they're not like, for example, classes in D&D.
No.
So when you get to the appropriate point, you will be selecting one thing you're excellent at, 4 things that you are good at, and 1 thing you are poor at.
Yeah.
So by doing that, you obviously have to fit whatever it is that dragon requires you to do. But whatever's left over, you're free to do what you like with. So you can use a different profession as inspiration.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Don't get too tied into thinking of these as your fighter, your thief, your rogue.
No, I wasn't. I just
no.
obviously it's new to me, so I will have
No, this
dumb
is
questions
it.
in a way.
No, it's not done. It is very common when, especially new players, are presented with lists like this, to assume that that's it. I've got to play this. I've got to play one of them or one of them. And in some games, yeah, that's you slot it in. That's your occupation. That is what you are.
Yeah.
D&D is excellent for that. But for something like this, that's more narrative based, it's a bit more freeform. These are more guides. These are more guidelines. So no, it's not a stupid question. New players.
I love new players. New players are brilliant because they don't yet have anything wrong.
Yeah, but I don't also have anything right.
But that's our job, is to make sure that you get those right things.
How many years gaming did I spend before I stopped starting every sentence, can I do this?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's...
It was a couple of years.
Oh, you're probably going to get that from me over the next few weeks.
That's
yeah.
fine.
I still do that from time to time.
Yeah. I was asking permission to do every single thing. It wasn't just is this achievable? It was, can I? I'm okay.
You do find players that have played very mechanistic games, things like, for example, 3rd edition D&D or Pathfinder. They tend to get locked down into the specific options that the book has listed rules for. Whereas those of us that cut our teeth on basic D&D or AD&D 1 or 2 tend to think, right, this is what I want to do. Now, how do we fit that to the rules?
A bit like the other week when you were playing the quick play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The other thing I like about new players coming in to join the game that maybe we've already played before, we haven't on this occasion, but new players tend to ask the questions that we either make assumptions around or haven't simply come across. So you open us to new things anyway.
Yeah. I love breaking in new players. It's great. This is why I've had a couple of people say,
games, yeah.
I'm a newbie. I'm a newbie, you know. Will that be okay? And I'm thinking, yes, please, God, come sit down. Can we get you a cup of tea? You know?
Yeah, shake up preconceived notions and play patterns.
Exactly, yeah.
I try my best.
Yeah, I mean, I love playing with these guys. They are great, but on the other hand, I know their brains inside out to a certain extent. So, because I've known them for so long, so it's nice to have fresh perspectives. And no, I didn't just call you two boring. Not in any way that could legally
Not directly,
be
anyway.
No, backpedaling. Who's the GM next week?
Shit. And I'm down a bloody sewer. Okay. So, yes, Soldier of Fortune is an option. I was thinking, actually, Neo, that might be one you might find useful if you don't go Dragon. If you do go Dragon, then that's something else.
Well, I originally had thought of kind of combining them, but...
Steam Engineer. The world can be saved by
very
steam.
Quickly, though, just to say, a Dragon Soldier of Fortune would actually work really well, because it's something that they would be naturally quite good at. I mean, if you can breathe fire, it gives you an edge in a fight.
Yeah. Definitely not a drummed out of the...
No, but there are ways to
The brigade actually flew and still got slaughtered.
But they flew. And suddenly I've got the urge to put the trooper on.
Funny, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Oh, I'm over world gaming, don't worry.
Oh. Okay, yes, Steam Engineer does what it says on the tin.
Rocket Lewis Stevenson.
Pretty much. You've been fascinated by all the amazing new technologies discovered every day, but the gem of them all is steam, the mighty force that drives the engines of commerce and industry. Whether employed in an automotive, an aeroship, or a factory, you know that steam is the way of tomorrow. Random capitalization again. and you intend to bring on the future as soon as possible. As an apprentice to the Steam Engineers Guild, you learned how to build complex turbines and boilers. Basically, you can head off into steampunk tech. And yes, so did I. Wizard.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, yes.
Wizard.
The noun, not the adjective.
Wizard or witch?
A wizard is a wizard.
Because obviously you stated the females have the more...
Yeah, a female wizard is still a wizard.
Okay.
I strongly suspect witches are something else altogether. Probably only resident in Russia, which in this setting is a scary place to be.
Irritated to sort of Baba Yaga territory.
Yeah, and also the Tsar has gone nuts.
I'm just feeling really disappointed because since you said a wizard is a wizard, I've been trying to fit it to the theme to Mr. Ed, and I've been failing.
Yeah.
I just can't make it.
Oh God, I've got 2 poets in stream. Right.
You can rest assured I'm not that good at coming up with things on the fly, as it were.
No, I've just got visions. You're going to be posting things in chat afterwards.
Well, if this seems to be a game where like backstory and writing things between sessions is very much encouraged.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh no, you're just encouraging J Grey now. Stop it.
Well, I think a little bit of fey poetry might be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anyone want to play a full-on wizard? Fish, you wanted, if you were considering magic, would you like me
to dismiss the idea of magic?
You can't make it work.
And I just can't make it work. There's too many things I need to be good at, unfortunately.
Okay. I don't know if the specialisation is going to balls you up, but that's one of the variant rules. It's the only one that affects character creation. May not mess you around too much, but I'll give you the option and you can decide whether or not you want to slightly rejig if you need to. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've got my basics down. I can tweak if it seems appropriate, yeah.
Okay. Right.
I'm
Writer.
just gonna AFK for a moment while you do these.
Okay, no problem. Writer. You are the chronicler of humanity, recording the events of those around you and reshaping them to a pleasing turn of phrase. Pippin? Honestly, you vocal little nuts. You seriously wouldn't think he was fed literally before we went on stream. So, we have a Fairy Lord, we have a bespoke build, because Fish has been playing silly beggars with his own copy of the rulebook. And because, to be honest, I think once he got a Quigley in his head, that was it. So, Knight. How are you thinking?
So, I've got it down to one of two.
Mm-hmm.
Either consulting detective or secret agent.
Okay.
They both fit from different angles, and they both share actually, they just share marksmanship.
Bear in mind, of course, you can tweak it and mix and match as you wish.
I think the choice will come down to some of a question around other nations in the setting where the character could have come from.
Okay.
You did say there were some complications over in the States. What about down under?
I don't think Australia is mentioned particularly. Hang on. Let me check and see if there's one of the other books. Oh, hello.
Thank you.
That's handy.
I did wonder if importing him as having at some point been with the Pinkertons or equivalent.
So yes, ex-official detective agency. It kind of depends. It depends who you wanted to be working for previously. I know you initially said the Steam Lords.
Yeah. They're obviously specifically British.
They are specifically British, so you're looking at anywhere from the Empire there.
The thought was he came from whatever he did previously to the UK, worked with the Steam Lords, and then had a change of heart.
Ah, right.
So I'm thinking he's either come Bushranger to the UK, which has its own fallen past, or Pinkertons to the UK.
Actually, Oz would be fine. Oz would be fine, yeah.
Excellent. Then Carter was a Bushranger.
Fair enough. I can go with that. Jaguar pointing out the natives were less easy to push around in this setting. Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's several different ways of magic.
When when the dream time becomes a literal reality.
Yeah.
One would assume the same reason for Australia being a little complex as well.
Yeah, I've read October. What people who can manipulate dreams can do would be a terrifying concept. And if anyone else hasn't read October, I can heartily recommend it. Excellent stuff.
In which case, we're going to go Secret Agent.
Okay.
Because that gives everything that a bushranger would have had before coming across. Stealth, the ability to shoot, and run like hell because it's all gone to pot.
Yep, it's all gone horribly wrong. Time to get the hell out of Dodge. Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I wasn't sure whether that was you, Pippin, or... Quite used to random bangs and crashes because Pippin weighs
Banks and
about...
crashes, weren't me?
Yeah, Pippin weighs a ton and is a clumsy clot. So periodically you'll just hear this ka-thud. Oh, it's the cat. Right.
It's not always the cat, though.
No, quite often though. So, we've got 3 of you sorted. So, have you made a decision, Neo, as to where you'd like to go?
Kinda.
Okay, you're going to let GM in on it?
I can try. I originally thought I was going to do some form of Dragon Lord cross Shadow of Fortune, Soldier of Fortune even.
Yep.
But I'm thinking more Wizard of Soldier of Fortune.
Okay, a magic wielding Soldier of Fortune.
Yeah.
Interesting idea. Okay.
Kind of almost Jonathan Strange idea, because I mean he was called upon by the government to do battlefield magic.
The military employs wizards and this heavy artillery. It's ever so useful having him in chat, isn't it?
Good lord.
Because yes, this is this. What's actually also quite useful is he's coming out with much the same things as I would, but I've got to actually check it in the book first.
I'll be honest, I was leaning more towards the Dragon Lord Soldier of Fortune, but that's going to be a bit trickier to do.
Yeah, I think for new characters, possibly that might be a tricky one. If this goes anywhere, which I hope it will, then secondary characters, of course, are always going to be an option because it's always nice to be able to mix and match.
Yeah.
I like populating worlds.
Do you want to come up, little one? Come here then. Come here then.
Oh.
Yeah, you come say hello to the peeps now. You're awake a bit.
Oh. Hello.
Oh.
Yes, I'm soppy, Sumi. Oh, for goodness sake.
Nothing wrong with that.
She's a little bit cranky at the moment, so she's a bit restless.
That's actually really, really useful. Okay, so let's have a look, shall we?
Alright. Crappy. Crappy.
There we go.
Wizards
Yes, there we
make
go.
Pew pew noises. Nice one, Mickey.
Military sorcerers. In a world where magic's been a fact of life for thousands of years, most New European militaries have a sorcerical discipline of some sort. The duty of a military sorcerer is threefold. His first job is to use sorcery to provide intelligence, where normal methods of information gathering would be impossible. His second is to provide logistical support for his forces in the form of repairs and material. And the last task of the military sorcerer is to provide the proper environment for combat by controlling the weather. Fairly specific, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, so yes, I have that information, and that's actually really useful. Because I knew, I'd seen about the sorcerers, because I had read through I'd read through pretty much all the books. But I couldn't remember which one it was in. Because that's sad. Right. So, let's move on a little bit. Right. So, would you like the details on... Would you like the details on the character classes you've picked?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was Secret Agent, Fairy Lord, who's up here. going to be up at the first one, isn't he? Right. Strong suits.
Yep.
For fairies.
Yep.
Are connections, comeliness,
Yep.
And perception.
So are these so when you were talking about previously you've got 4 things you have to pick, are these 3 of them basically?
These are things you're likely to be good at.
Right.
You could be exceptionally, you could be an exception, someone who perhaps just it doesn't work for you or something, particularly unobservant fairy, you could do that. But even an unobservant fairy, let's face it, is probably going to be above average. Fairy power enchantment. I won't necessarily give you the possessions because you can sort yourselves out on that. Worst case, we can do it off stream. I can just let you loose with the equipment lists.
Sure.
The sort of thing you would find in your diary are notes on humans' behaviour, interesting scenery, animals you plan to recreate in fairy for entertainment, songs, poetry, snatches of music. So that's the sort of thing you might find in your diary. In my diary, I wrote.
What I did on my trip to Human Land.
Pretty much, yeah. What I did on my holidays for 60, 70 years. Immortality changes your perspective. Scrolling. Secret agent.
Yes.
Strong suits, athletics, marksmanship, and stealth. Sword came with assorted gadgets. Ho. Yes, this is not guaranteed. This is just what they might have. I read out the in your diary, so you can
remind me.
Addresses of your many affairs of the heart, code names of contacts in other countries, tales of your exploits, all encoded. Why you're here? Perhaps one of the others is a fellow agent or the agent of a rival power, or an old friend who needs your skills. Or perhaps by travelling with this group you hope to throw pursuers off the scent. You might even be protecting a member of the group from kidnap or assassination. Or, let's face it, you might be there to assassinate or kidnap a member of the group. Which is an excellent, excellent starting point for a character who then needs to be dissuaded from this.
Don't hide the grin there, Nitebytes.
So just the idea of being there to either covertly protect or outright assassinate a Quigley.
I'm just looking forward to that inevitable moment where Carter and Randolph cross swords.
Oh, God. Okay.
You're very good, but there's something you do not know.
I
am not offended.
Oh, right. Yes, warn me before you're planning on that, because then I will just rewatch The Princess Bride multiple times. Princess Bride's probably quite a good example, to be brutally honest with you, of the sort of thing to expect. So, Battlefield Wizard. So, swapping over to Commune 4. Right. Okie dokie. So, yeah, that's wizardry for you. Right, so general wizards, and I've got the specifics in the other book. So, while others content themselves with amassing treasures on Earth, you have set yourself a higher goal. Through years of study and concentration, you've gained powers in the arts of magic and sorcery, until you stand a full adeptus within your chosen order or brotherhood. Now you have sworn to use this power to shape the very universe, defend humanity against the depredations of those who follow the dark paths, or to remold the world to fit your lodge's greater plans. No earthly power can oppose you now, for the true battleground exists in the higher realms where you reign supreme. Oh, boy.
Where you meet Dormammu and say, I've come to bargain.
Yes! Strong suits for wizards. Courage, education, and sorcery.
Funny that sorcery should be in there.
Oh, yeah. In your diary, you might find arcane symbols and notes on ancient lore, information on where rare and powerful magical artifacts may be found, pentagrams and numerology charts, as well as sketches of spell knots and flux patterns and mystic runes. Your scryings have told you that one or more of these people will have a great impact on the shaping of reality, or perhaps you're charged with protecting, stopping, or observing one of the others by the master of your order. You might be a freelance sorcerer planning to use the group for your own purposes, or a follower of light hoping to use the group to avert an evil shaping. All sorts of options. Basically, it's time to read the Duke de Richelieu books and skirt over the intense racism. Actually, Devil Rides Out is probably the best example of the ilk, and also an excellent film. Right. Now it's time to make this character your own. So you will have a journal. That's what your files are for. Questions that will need to be answered. So, say? You were saying, Fish?
Nothing. Diary
Okay.
questions, page 156.
Yes.
Yes.
You'll need your name. Where do you come from? As in, where were you born and where do you live now?
Are there restrictions on that?
No? I'd like you to stick with, well, you're okay, but I'd like,
Within
for the most
some
part,
limits,
people to stick with Earth. But, you know, obviously for the fairy
I
lord,
didn't
no.
mean extraterrestrial.
Well, it's an option.
Well,
No,
there
for the
is-
most part, I don't have a problem with where you come from. Things could get awkward.
The setting has precedence for coming from this Earth,
Very limited ones, please don't do that to me.
but technically,
Shut up. Yeah, when the GM has this look on her face, no. Generally, I'd like to keep people, for first characters, I'd like to keep them in the context of the game.
yes, absolutely.
You're just stirring now, J. Gray. Yeah, but now you are Meki. The Fae from outer space. Oh, now I want to do a crossover between Castle Falkenstein and Teenagers from Outer Space.
Ooh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
oh. No, no's. Bad, naughty Drut. B-movie anime Castle Falkenstein. Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah, your name should reflect your homeland and history. Where did you have in mind, Neo? Where, with pretty much unrestricted nationality.
I've got a name, I'm just trying to make it fit.
Okay. Teenagers from Chin and Nog. So actually the whole thing just comes down to sort of Fae teens out on the bender. Okay. Names should reflect your homeland and history. Example from France.
But what if you don't know your homeland?
Please tell me we're not going with amnesia, because I'm not sure.
No,
I can
not
vote that.
amnesia,
Okay.
just not any reference to a homeland.
Okay. Then it would be whatever is appropriate to you. You can pick what you like.
It makes my name fit,
No,
if that makes sense.
no, that's fine. If that's what you need to make it fit, that's what you need to make it fit.
It was a case of I thought of the name as we were going through, and it's like I can't make that fit without having no knowledge of homeland.
Hey, you tweak as and when. If you want to fill in your name after you've answered the rest of the questions and you've cleared it up a bit better in your head as to what your character's actually like, fill your boots. Where do you come from? Right, okay. Physiognomy and physique. What do you look like?
Take it, Frogman's out the question.
Frogman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
If I was a frog man.
And no, my name's not Kermit.
Uh-huh. Nigel. Oh, no, sorry. Frog, not Toad. What do you look like? Your sex, age, height, and other particulars like eye and hair colour, which may or may not be relevant. No one's playing a dwarf, so that's not a problem. If you're a dragon, you'll never be shorter than 6'2". Pixies and brownies are never over 10 inches. There's no female dwarves. Oh, that's, yes, fun little fact. There is no such thing as a female dwarf.
So,
Okay.
do I want to know how
No,
they
no,
carry
it's
on?
perfectly legit. Dwarves were originally creatures of fairy. So, when a dwarf wants to get married, he romances an appropriate female of a fairy species. And when the kids have come along, the boys take after daddy, and the girls take after mummy.
Just popping out for a moment. I'll be
Okay,
back in a
no
moment.
problem.
Total tangent. These fairies that are in the setting,
Hmm.
are they winged?
Some of them.
I have really weird images of
Pixies
dwarves with
were.
wings now.
No. A dwarf, the son of a dwarf is a dwarf. It's not a weird half.
So that's set.
Yep. It's part of the magic from when dwarves broke away from the rest of fairy. Basically, a male dwarf child is going to be a dwarf. A female child of a dwarf is going to be whatever mummy is. And they tend to go and live with their appropriate
What happens
parents.
if a dwarf gets with a human?
Then they don't. That's not something that happens.
So, no, I'm not.
Sorry,
even
what has
going
duck
down that
feet?
road.
Apparently dwarves. What happens if a dwarf romances a human? They have duck feet.
Well, I wanted a frogman.
Yeah, dwarves and humans just doesn't happen. Oh, all dwarves do. What?
Hang on a minute. How big are these
Don't
dwarves?
mess with me. About 5 feet.
How big are the fairies?
Ah, fairies wear boots. Black
Yeah,
Sabbath had it
of
right.
course.
Yes. Fairies wear boots and you go.
But I picture fairies Tinkerbell size. Sort of in your
No.
hand.
That's a pixie.
Yeah, that is
The yes, the fireproof dwarves are brilliant. Yeah, I would dump one into every volcano I found, just purely on principle. The fairy lord that Chrono's playing is a fairy.
How big is that?
It's about 6 foot something.
That's not fair.
Yeah,
Fairy-
creatures of fairies as in creatures of the
Yeah.
fae.
Okay, this is
Right,
using
okay.
the term fairy as
F-A-E.
applied to the old Celtic she.
Yeah,
which
you're going
was
history. That's
more-
way over my head.
More the origin for Tolkien's elves rather than traditional
That's
Tinkerbells.
elves makes more sense to me in that
Yeah,
respect.
effectively, this type of fairy are elves. It's where Tolkien
But
took
still,
his
a
inspiration
dwarf and an
from.
elf is a bit of a.
No, a dwarf
Yeah, okay.
could knock off a Rusalka. They're all female. I've got the big list of fairies at the end of this book, and there are lots. And while the dwarf and the pixie or dwarf and the brownie ain't happening, just a scale, no. I'm not even, yeah, I'm not going there yet. I'm not explaining black dogs yet. But yes, that's just how the relationships work. It's boys are dwarves and the girls are fairies, or of the fae.
No, I'm not going to be a dwarf gaming.
No, that's fair enough. Right. So yeah, it's not a game breaker. This is purely a descriptive thing. The what do you look like?
Midget.
You may also note some of the personalities described previously are slanted towards one sex or the other. It's not that there aren't female hussars or male demi-mondaines, but they are
Just
a lot
rarer.
rarer. Yeah. And they may require a certain amount of explanation. What was your youth and childhood like? Describe your childhood and general upbringing. Did you have brothers and sisters? If so, how many and of what sex? Were you legitimate?
Most of my brothers were male, but
Yeah. Were you legitimate, or were you born on the wrong side of the blanket? As well.
Sorry, because I missed a little bit of that. Are there any, like, what are the sorts of restrictions on fairy in terms of like homeland? I'm presuming fairy is homeland, but
Yeah.
anything on like how they live or go about in the.
Right. Let me just rip off. Remember page 157, please. I think it is there. Oh no, it's close. Close but no cigar. Oh my god, I'm being told to hang it up. Excellent. Okay. Fairies. Let's have. Do we have much in the way of detail behind? Okay, see you, J. Gray.
See you around, J. Gray. Thanks for coming by.
See ya.
Okay.
well, he
You've
had
got-
to come by and check we were actually going to play it.
Yeah. Well, I own 3 streams.
Just while we are a little bit quiet, I would just like to say to everybody who is watching, we are playing this game courtesy of Talsorian Games, who publish it, and Jay Gray, who is a member of staff at Talsorian, because they have generously given Drut the PDFs of all the books for this game so that we can play it. So big thank you to them. Everybody go out, buy everything you can find by Talsorian
Yeah, absolutely.
to say
Yeah.
thank you for us.
Yeah.
In particular, the Witcher RPG, which is brilliant.
Yes. Oh, by the way, guys, July, the Witcher Easy Mode quick play adventure comes out. A quick play, I
Cool.
believe it's 19-page, comes out. Oh. Sorry. Okay. In context, you are going to be a member of the Seelie Court, because the Unseelie are led by
Yes.
the adversary, which is a bad thing.com.
I mean, they could have just called them the Bastard Court, but it didn't have the same ring.
Yeah.
It's too uncouth for the Fae.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that is ruled by King Oberon.
It is Oberon and Titania.
It's Oberon.
Ah, okay.
There's no reference to Titania.
Ah.
On the other hand, for all we know, Oberon is Titania.
Yes.
Let's
okay.
face it, we're talking
it's true.
magical energy bodies here.
That can shapeshift at will and thus be whichever way they want to look at any given time.
Yeah. But yes, Oberon rules the Unseelie Court. Don't have a huge amount of detail on that,
Cool.
but that's of the era. You can only a fairy or mage using the proper spells can enter the fairy vale. The entryway may be through any standing circle of stones, flower ring, pond, lake, tree, or even closet. There's no jokes about fairies going into the closet, which has been previously designated an entryway into the vale by the host of the game, otherwise known as me. Fairy characters may not create their own gate. Only their kings like Oberon and the adversary can do that.
If you do want to turn a closet into an entryway to the fairy realm, however, you do need to have a lion or it doesn't work.
Yes, and a witch. Okay. No fairy characters, by the way, can use sorceries.
That makes sense.
Which
They
is-
have their own magic rather than the human version.
Yep. But they have access to their own powers. And by the way, flight is a thing.
Ah.
You may change shape often as you like, taking 1 minute to do so. You must, however, have personally seen whatever you're attempting to shapeshift into. You may not shapeshift to match a photograph or illusion.
Does that work like the old kids show What on Earth? Does it go wrong?
No, just doesn't work.
Because What on Earth could do that, but there was always something off about the item.
Okay, so it's a case of, all right, I mean, as Jay Gray had said earlier, fairy have no imagination, so I have to, if I wanted to shapeshift into a person, it has to be an actual person. I have seen no variation on that. Okay.
No, you can obviously dress differently.
Yeah.
And bear in mind that as an immortal, you may well have been back and forth across the veil multiple times. So it could have been someone you saw
200 years ago or something like
the
that.
person who died 40 years ago is going to be a reasonably good disguise.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the character I maintain in the real world, is there any sort of like restrictions or such on that? I mean, I'm guessing we're all going to be effectively moving in the circles of minor nobility, or?
Yeah, you're going to be moving in society with a capital S. So maintaining the reputation.
I would like to quickly point out, Drup, that in fact there is a potential problem with that. Let me just check it. To move regularly among society, you would need good connections.
Okay.
Average connections, which is what you have if you haven't put anything into it, assumes you socialise with the common man, shopkeepers, businessmen, everyday people.
Yep.
Good connections assumes you know people of a better quality.
Yep. I am, however, working. No, I thank you for bringing that up, but I had actually read it. Yeah, I was thinking, however, that if sufficient people in the group have the good connections, then worst case they can bring people in effectively
but they would be hands-on. Those people would have no personal connection with those in that society, really.
No, they would then have to improve their own connections.
One of the reasons why I had to give up on the idea of having sorcery, because I needed good connections.
I'm picking up good connections. No, wait, hang on.
Basically, I got one thing that I'm good at out of this at the end of the day. The other three were all just down to my character description. Social graces, comeliness, and connections were given. He couldn't not take them.
Yeah.
So that left me one thing to decide what I wanted to be good at.
So, fair enough. Hey ho. But yes, basically you can maintain a household, or you can simply be independently wealthy.
Sure.
Fairy gold is a thing. Which is not recommended for long-term use, but for simply purchasing goods and such, then aside from the fact that if people pick up on the fact that you're a fairy, which is going to be pretty obvious for the most part, they're not necessarily going to take your gold at first glance.
Fair.
You can pick up fairy gold, kiss a fairy woman. By the way, most fairy beauty is enhanced by glamour, or live in a fairy castle. The glamour is an illusion with permanence and solid form.
Okay. So if I'm moving about in the real world, would I normally be covered by a glamour?
You'd probably maintain a glamour
of some kind that would be
some kind of illusion that is enhancing your natural appearance.
Yeah. Okay.
That doesn't seem to bother them too much. One of the things, talking about the connections, and I would expect people to then develop their own, i.e. raise their connections rating. One of the variant rules I am going to be using is the improvement point scheme. There's a slightly wafty, if you narrate your character is doing this, then after a certain amount of time, then you would improve it possibly. And it's a little bit airy even for me. So I am implementing an improvement points rule, which is based on accomplishing deeds, either within scenarios, or there is a thing called a resolution where you set up yourself with a long-term goal and as you accomplish stages within those goals, that will earn you your character improvement points as well. And those work very much as they do in Witcher, which is spending them to improve your stats. It's a more formalised XP system, but it's not quite down as far as XP's. So you will be able to improve by doing things, accomplishing stuff. I know, I'm going to make you accomplish things.
You swine.
What?
I know.
We just want to have fun.
Uh-huh.
not even girls.
Fairy Lords.
You said we're not girls.
Yeah, you can be.
Well,
You haven't told me yet. I know Hamilton isn't. And I
I'm pretty
know
sure Carter isn't.
Randolph. Hamilton.
Sorry,
the other character.
sorry. Yes, my apologies. I went straight into Hamilton there.
Yeah.
Hamilton
Well, he's
Quigley,
Randolph
I'll
Hamilton Quigley. But
Fair enough.
you may notice that my last two Quigleys, this one and the character for Knights Crimson Skies, both had a middle name taken from Hamilton Arthur Quigley.
Yes.
The next next Quigley I create is going to have trouble because either I start reusing names or I have to come up with something that has no relation to Hamilton at all.
Related to the other Quigleys, take the first names as a middle name.
Yeah, I may well have to start doing that. Yes.
That way
Well, actually, I
there's-
already have. My elder brother, my nemesis elder brother in this, is Aloysius Charles, which of course is Charles Clark
Chuck.
Quigley. Charles Arthur Clark Quigley, in fact, aka Chuck Shackelford, aka Midas.
Oh God, yes, I forgot that. Okay, so now we've gone with the where are you from, where do you live now, physiognomy and physique, which is going to, for the fairy, is going to be, what do I feel like this morning?
Yeah. What day is it?
Yes. Or they might decide to maintain an actual standard form, if nothing else, to be polite to their
They might try
human
to
friends.
not give the other party members or other player characters. I'm not sure whether you really could call it a party in this setting. Yeah, they might want to not
parties.
give us all nervous breakdowns on a regular basis.
I think by the third or fourth time we'd be getting used to it.
Yeah, but then you get into the problem. We have a tiny problem. You know that thing we weren't supposed to tell anybody at all? Well, I was discussing it with whatever. Only it turned out it wasn't, after all. It was just some random hobo. No idea who it was. Told him everything.
Okay. What was your youth and childhood like? Again, probably going to be slightly more awkward for some than others. Did you? Okay, yes. They were into the legitimate or illegitimate. What did your parents do for a living? How many siblings have you got? How did you get along? How do you deal with each other now that you're an adult? Were you wealthy, poor, or bourgeoisie? Did you go to school? And if so, what kind? Private, public, military, or college?
Hard knocks.
Were there any important family events or traumatic events that shaped the way you are now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been typing potted
Infinity,
highlights.
Yes.
Theodore.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as they want, I think, Meki.
Yeah. I don't think they ever do actually grow up. They stop aging at some point, but I don't think they ever grow up.
They stop growing at about 18 inches.
Okay. What are your virtues and your vices? What are your best qualities and your worst? Bear in mind that none of this is getting you, points back or anything like that. You just, this is entirely character based. This is pure role playing fodder.
Yep. This is the kind of stuff that you should really be asking yourself about your character anyway in every game. It's just that in this one they've folded it directly into the character creation system, which I like.
Yeah. It's an extension of the fact that in D&D I refuse to give XPs to someone who hasn't got a name yet.
Yeah.
No, you think I'm joking.
Seen it happen.
Yep. What's your style? Describe the kind of clothing or dress you prefer, as well as any special quirks you affect as part of that style. Your mode of dress will be affected by the kind of personality you're playing. For example, you won't often find a mad scientist in a Worth ball gown.
Am I right in thinking that when you were giving us the character backdrops, the flawed hero wears black?
Yep.
Right. Just checking.
Yep.
So does my fallen hero.
I'm
But he
counting on you.
accessorises.
Leave it to the Fae to bring a splash of colour.
Thank you. I was thinking, we need somebody with a pop of colour, otherwise we're going to be into the shadows
Randolph
being bookable by
unfortunately
the
looks
hour.
like he's trying to invent goth way before it actually happened.
Tell me he's
Black
got ringlets.
with lots of silver accessorising.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, dear. Wolf's head on his sword cane?
I haven't actually identified what the head of his cane is, other than it is obviously silver.
Fair enough. Fairies, by the way, are vulnerable to iron and steel.
Okay, so that's being maintained here. Cool.
Oh, yes.
So it's traditional English Spencerian fairy kind of thing.
Yep, very much so. I've got a big list of things that repulse fairies. It's very strange. It's, and it can vary. But they don't like being around masses of steel.
I don't think I'm quite going for Sun King Meki.
Yeah. They thank you for the image now. Exactly, that's great. Fairies don't like being around large amounts of steel.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually sickened by being around large amounts of iron. Hence, fairy sailors are far less common than they used to be since the change from wooden ships to ironclads.
Yeah.
And cold steel can be fatal. Cold steel is defined as magnetic meteorite iron.
Yeah.
Sorry, cold iron, even not cold steel, sorry. So that's one to bear in mind. If somebody starts pointing a cold steel dagger at your fairy lord...
Yeah, in theory, that cold iron could be manufactured into cold steel.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep calling it cold steel.
I'm pretty sure cold steel exists in some other
It
systems.
does. It's also the name of a company that make training
knives.
weapons and things. And unfortunately, it's stuck in my head. But yeah, it's cold iron. Basically, if someone comes after you with a cold iron dagger, then A, they don't like you very much, and B, you're going to be glad to have friends around you who aren't fatally vulnerable to such things. Okay. So you've done your style. Are you dashing or are you demure? Now this is a 2-word description.
Yeah.
Describe your personality in 2 words.
I used 3, but that's only because there's a but in the middle.
Okay. No, joining words are fine.
Yeah,
Links
they
are fine.
don't count.
No.
Be sure about that.
Examples here are arrogant and headstrong or friendly and outgoing. This is just an absolute thumbnail of the core of the character.
Insecure but chivalrous.
Oh.
I originally had noble, but I decided to replace that with chivalrous because I think it describes it slightly better.
I think chivalrous is probably quite close. Meki, I've got images of you now doing costume designs for Chrono's character. I think you'd probably quite enjoy that.
Well,
Okay.
once I have a full description, it's.
Bother.
Yes.
I'm going to have to
I'm leaving a few blanks, and we
shut
have to come
down
back to this
voice
and send you the
meter and put it back
document
on
later.
again.
Yeah.
Okay, not a
Apologies
problem.
for that.
Same.
We've got a couple of weeks. This is why I quite like the rotation now. We've got a couple of weeks for people to sort of mull things over, and as it occurs to them, stick the info in. What do you like or dislike? Describe
Now
your
we're beginning.
favourite things. Food, drink, books, music, places, anything like that, and things that you really dislike.
Yes, that I've left for the moment. I'll have to come back to that later.
Okay.
Question. I mean, this may be jumping ahead a bit
No, go
too
ahead.
far, but do we have a starting location for where we're all going to be?
At the moment, we've got an Aussie who's working in Britain. We've got an actual Brit. I don't know where your wizard is from, but I'm waiting on the nationality or at least adopted nationality for them. So once I have that, then I can decide. But
Okay.
at the moment, it's either going to be Britain, or I might start you in by.
For me, is going to be in
Randolph,
Britain.
Randolph is currently living in London, but he's extremely wealthy, so he can be anywhere you need him to be.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you think about things like Dracula and such, heading across the continent, really
Yeah.
not that huge a challenge,
Sure,
not that big
cool.
a deal. So society will, because passports are not yet really a thing.
Passepartout notwithstanding.
Yeah, they're a matter of convenience rather than.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like my original thought was kind of like the what he maintains is that of minor German nobility.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Cool.
Yeah, probably adopts the style of.
Like he has a graph title of some kind, whether that has been earned or is
Affected.
Affected, yes. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yep.
Is yet to be decided.
Probably a noble of Bayern then. Quite possibly may have, depending on what you put into Exchequer, may have a very small, may have a small estate somewhere earned at some point in the previous 200 years.
Yeah.
I'm just suddenly thinking of that wonderful moment in the Bulgariad where Polgara has been claiming to be the Duchess of Herat.
Oh yes.
Of their cover, and then somebody suddenly points out to her that he's checked, and she actually is.
Yes.
I'd completely forgotten it.
Yes. Sorry. Right.
How many? Just out of interest, how many things are we expected to fill this out with in terms of the virtues, the vices, the favourite things, the not so favourite things?
As many as you think is enough for you to get a handle on your character.
Yeah, whatever gives you a good feel for your character.
I'm not
really.
demanding an essay. It can be literally a couple of entries, things that your character feels strongly about. If you feel like going for an essay, I'm good with that. But get it to me with enough time that I can read it properly before that. What really matters to you? What principle do you value most in life? This is the fundamental basis for what your character wants in life. An example might be money, honor, your word, honesty, knowledge, vengeance, love, power, a good time, friendship, fame, discretion, or sex. One hopes the last two going together. So what's your most valuable principle? What's your most treasured possession? And who do you most value in the world?
Drut, I have filled out, I had decided I was going to do this long before the stream started. I have filled out the loyalties and beliefs for my character.
Okay.
Based on the rules we haven't used in many a year now, actually.
Yeah.
And I just want to warn you that at first glance, my most valued principle doesn't seem to match up with my loyalties and beliefs, but it actually does.
Okay.
Because Randolph's most valued principle is family honor.
Okay.
Whereas his blood loyalties comes quite low, in fact.
Oh, yeah.
But his family honor is tied up with the things that I've listed for his loyalties. So it is still, it encapsulates those things that I've listed as being important to him in terms of loyalties and beliefs.
Okay, that's reasonable.
This will mean nothing to anybody because I don't think anybody here has ever seen my loyalties and belief system that I wrote many years ago.
Good point.
Of course. I wrote it so long ago that Knight actually did.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what is your principle? What is your most treasured thing? And who is your most treasured person? Could be yourself.
Could you define most treasured?
For which person? The examples, brother or sister. Who would you risk your own life to save them?
Does it specifically have to be save?
No. No. Your most valued person is literally that. I mean, the example is a brother or sister, parent, lover, friend, teacher, public figure, yourself, no one.
I need to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, for Pete's sakes. So that wasn't to you, Neo. That I was cussing my own typing. That I've made the same typographical error countless times this evening, and I'm getting annoyed at myself for it.
That's okay. That's what spell checkers are invented for.
The thing is, the spelling mistake is a genuine word.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
always awkward when that happens.
Yeah, then you're into hoping that Grammarly can pick it up.
Again, in the context, it wouldn't. I keep typing storm instead of steam.
Okay.
Very different take.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this is a fantasy setting, so it's entirely possible that you could have a storm train.
Yep.
It's more the storm lords I'm worried about.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm
Didn't they
thinking of
support Iron Maiden in '94?
now I'm thinking of stormpunk as a genre.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Don't say things like that because actually that would be.
I wonder if Jay Gray's
Yep,
still in chat
I
and
think we
picking
could do
up
that.
on this.
No, fortunately he's
No,
gone.
he's
Otherwise, we
gone.
should know. Trademark. Stormlord trademark. Okay.
Just trying to think what the stormpunk genre would be.
Yeah.
What would be the
Yeah.
defining
I've
elements?
actually written that down to something to think about. Not that I haven't got another setting that we're working on already, but
Yeah. Oh God, we've got at least 6 on the books.
Never turn the muse away when it arrives.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. This is
Oh,
why
dear.
my obsession folder is something like 2.5 gigs big, despite the fact that I've
Yes.
only released one 72-page book from it.
Yeah. Oh, now they need to be bikers. Necky. Oh yes. No,
On the back of- on
this
the-
game,
on-
this game.
On
right,
the back of their
okay.
leather jacket, it will say "Born to Ruin."
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
I'm going to gibbs
Thanks
you
to
so
you,
hard on the back.
Rachel.
Okay. You stand with me, or who or what is your nemesis? A nemesis is a very Victorian idea. A person or organisation that opposes you and that you've either set yourself to destroy or has set itself to destroy you.
Aloysius Charles Quigley.
Okay.
All great Victorian characters have a nemesis. Holmes had his Moriarty. Rassendell his von Henso even. Captain Nemo, the world. He's a simple chap. Has been persuaded to the side of light, however. He's now just an anti-war campaigner who destroys battleships. So yes, just decide who your nemesis is.
I found that not the slightest bit difficult, Mickey.
No. And also then, what are your alliances? Your friends you're
Yeah, now
sworn to
that
help.
one I'm having difficulty with.
Organisations or causes you support, groups such as regiments or professional societies you belong to.
I don't think Queen Victoria really counts as an alliance.
Well, you might be allied to her, but she's probably got no clue
she's
who
not
the heck
allied
you
to
are.
me, no.
No,
Or indeed,
and
has she ever heard of me?
no.
Actually, no, she probably has, because when I handed in my brother, it was for a plot against the crown. But
So
she
she-
only heard of me that once.
Yes, you might be allied with Bertie, the Crown Prince,
That's
whose reputation has been slandered cruelly by the Steam Lords.
my
The
connection
industrialists.
is not really high enough for that.
Right.
But
But you could be allied with his
I
cause,
think,
which
I
is...
think I'm just
the
going to put it
pact.
down as the crown.
Okay.
What's the cause called? Is the
The New Pact. Oh, sorry, New Compact, sorry. Which is a an alliance of non-evil forces across the world. So you've got things like Bert Albert, the Crown Prince of Britain, whose reputation has been slandered as being simply a drunkard and a wastrel, but is actually a loyal and quite intelligent potential future king if he's allowed to be. Allied with King Ludwig II in Bayern.
Well, if Bertie's in on this, I'll put them down as an alliance as well then.
Bertie.
Yes, that's what he was known as.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. King Ludwig II, who in the real world was a great supporter of Richard Wagner, patron of Wagner, and built castles such as Neuschwanstein. And I know I pronounced that wrong, Mecky, leave me alone. Which is where Castle Falkenstein stands in Bayern, in the equivalent location. King Ludwig II famously went completely insane and was basically removed from power, imprisoned, and died under what's politely called suspicious circumstances in the real world.
You can take that sentence and take out the Ludwig II and just put insert here.
Insert king here,
and the rest of the sentence works fine in many, many cases.
In this world, King Ludwig II went missing decades back in an accident and has since been retrieved from the Fairy Vale where he was being hidden.
So
there are issues,
on that throne, then?
There are issues, however. This Ludwig is not in the slightest bit insane, is 5 years older, roughly, than he really should be for this reality, and knows about things like telephones and the Castle Neuschwanstein and things like that. So there is an argument in the meta plot as to whether or not he's simply from a different reality, possibly ours, who's been cured of his insanity and put on the throne on the grounds that they really needed him. There are plots and wheels. Either way, he's a good king in Bayern.
Good out.
Okay, so yes, your alliances and your nemesis then. So, love. Describe your romantic life, or romanic, apparently.
Oops.
Well,
If you yes. Whoops, typo. Describe your romantic life. High romance is a big part of Victorian life, what with secret assignations, doomed love affairs, feuding families, and various affairs of the heart. Are you involved, and with whom? Is your love requited or not? Are there obstacles between you?
Poor old Randolph really isn't.
Okay.
He was
If somebody
popular
wants
with
to
the
go-
ladies before the whole business with Aloysius.
Yeah,
But all of the women that he was involved with before are no longer suitable now that he stands to inherit.
I like that this includes things like when out walking with a lady, a gentleman will have, I believe it's his wife will walk on his left-hand side and his mistress on his right, so that when meeting friends, they'll know who they are addressing. Which was a bit of a
civilized.
What? It is. It's one of those you want to Google it to find out whether that was genuine customs or they're just making crap up now.
Lovely to maintain the fiction.
It is, isn't it? It's just, I just love the assumption that, of course, he'd maintained his mistresses. And it's what? Will you? Okay. Okay. And ambition. What are your goals in life? I would like you to describe one goal each for social, professional, and romantic.
These are fairly simple for Randolph. His social goal is to ensure that society entirely forgets the name Aloysius Charles Quiggy.
Mm-hmm.
His professional goal is to make a name for himself before he takes on the mantle of Viscount Capelvale. And his romantic goal is to find a wife who will make Mummy both happy and proud of him.
Oh, that's a challenge.
Yes, that is.
Is
Especially since most of the women in his social circle currently don't really want to talk to him.
is your title a real one? As in, it exists in our real world, or is it
Not that I'm
fiction?
aware of. If it does, it's a miracle because I've made up the entire thing.
Sure. I was just wondering if you were basing it off an existing
No.
an existing title.
It's worth checking, just in case you manage to insult somebody in the House of Lords.
As far as I'm aware, it's not a real place, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a real person either.
Means you get to invent your crest.
Indeed.
Yes.
I've got a book on heraldry somewhere. I shall be fishing that out.
I did a lot of reading on heraldry when I was a teenager.
We had to study it in history. That was the most interesting part of my history lessons.
So that
I
was
really didn't get on with my
romantic,
teacher.
professional. What was the other one?
Romantic, professional, and social. For example, a mastermind's professional goal might be to rule the world, his social goal might be to gain recognition as a genius, and his romantic goal might be to have the most beautiful woman in the world as his wife. Whether or
And
not
the
she
second
has
most
anything
beautiful
to say
woman
about
in
it.
the world is his mistress.
Okay. Right, now we actually get into what you might consider stats.
Actual game mechanics.
Actual game mechanics. Welcome to game mechanics.
So I do know I'm missing something when I step away, but I'll come back to that.
No, that's fine. Anything you miss, we've got time. We can sort it out over chat or just in Discord. That's what the gaming channels are for.
Yeah.
Just like in real life, some people's abilities in the Falkenstein universe are better than others. Some might be an exceptional athlete and a poor mathematician, or there's always the guy on the street, the archetypal Joe Average. In the Great Game, this idea is formalized into 6 levels of ability: poor, average, good, great, exceptional, and extraordinary.
Right.
Apologise,
For
Captain.
convenience, I'm going to pop into the HIntFishy tabletop channel in Discord, and I'm going to post the list of all of the abilities, the standard abilities given, so people can see them.
Yes.
If I can remember how to set it up as a code block, it'll be even better. I think it's that. Yes, it is.
Right, this bit is where one of the variations is going to affect you. I'm using the specializations variant from Variations on the Great Game, which is players can elect to have their characters focus on certain areas ruled over by an ability. For example, a hunter might possess an average marksmanship when it comes to most firearms, but due to training and practice have a good marksmanship when shooting a rifle. Average and good, of course, being actual levels.
Yeah. If anybody's familiar with the old Marvel Superheroes role-playing game, the first Marvel Superheroes role-playing game, that had a system very like this, where abilities were rated poor, good, excellent, blah blah blah, running all the way up to the slightly
Beyond.
breaking class 1000, class 2000, class 3000, class 5000 and beyond, because they ran out of good names at that point.
Yeah. I seem to recall Spider-Man had amazing agility.
He did indeed.
And the Hulk had incredible strength.
No, he didn't actually.
No, he didn't.
He had unearthly strength.
He had unearthly strength, yes.
Yes.
So, during creation, a player can trade in one of their good or great abilities to purchase specializations for their dramatic character. A good ability is worth 3 specializations, a great ability is worth 4 specializations.
You only get one great ability though, so you're losing your really cool thing if you catch
You
that.
can buy more.
Can you?
Yeah.
So how many of these are we picking?
Right. You get, by default, 1 great, 4 good, and 1 poor.
Yes. I regret to inform you all that I am poor at stealth.
All wizards automatically must begin with a good sorcery ability. So one
And
of your
specifically
goods.
good. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to start as great at sorcery.
Yeah. If you wish, you can buy additional great abilities, but for every additional great, you must take one additional paw.
Ah. Oh, now suddenly magic is veering back into
See,
sight.
now,
I
does
could
that is
upgrade
that a
my
trade-off
connections.
of the good? So we promote a good to a great, but one good's got to be a poor.
No. You can create wholesale a new great ability, but you have to match it with a poor ability.
Oh my, oh my, oh my! What would I want to be
Okay.
bad at?
And if you decide to specialise, then you can trade in a good or a great ability.
What were the trade-offs? Great got you
Great got you 4 specialisations.
4 specializations, and good gets you
3.
Okay.
Does the specialize? If you say specialize, as your example, if you're a marksman, specialize. So if you are a good marksman and you specialize,
It bumps you up 1 level.
it bumps you up 1 for, say, pistols.
hmm
How are you with the rest of the firearms group?
You are whatever you pick. You
So
could
it's
be-
not one goes up and the rest go down.
No.
Okay.
And specializations are presumably separate from other selections. So you could have be an average marksman and be good with pistols if you put the specialization on that. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Also,
How
You
would
can put-
specializations work with connections? Just out of interest.
let me check. Will say, however, you can specialise any ability, even a poor one.
So you can still be
Average.
What is the next level up? Average. Yes. I could be average at stealth under specific circumstances if I had a
Yeah.
specialization to put into it.
Um,
Interesting.
so, I think did you say you'd posted the list in the hint chat, Fish?
I have indeed. It's in the Hint Place tabletop channel in our Discord.
Okay. Which gives you the full list. More specialisations
Just-
can happen.
Just occurred to me, you can create your own abilities. These are only the standard ones. It
Yeah.
does say you can have. Could I have luck as an ability, so that my character can have poor luck and be just as shit at dice as I am, or cards rather in this setting?
Oh my word.
Unfortunately, you have tripped over one of the few things the game actually specifies against.
Okay.
Um,
But I imagine that they're stopping you from getting good luck and using it to dominate the game. But
No,
even so, it
just
still stands.
your poor abilities, those abilities must be selected from the
Oh,
list.
they have to be from the list.
So
to
you
stop
can't
from
pick,
picking things-
I'm
Yeah.
poor at juggling chainsaws.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when it says sorcery is poor for fairy, is that is that the one I start with, or is that on top of something that I am poor at?
I believe that is.
The way I interpreted that was on top of, but that's only
Hang
me.
on.
I could be wrong.
That's the way I would have thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just
It's the
check.
penalty for having fairy powers, I think.
Yeah.
really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it is on top of, but I will,
Yeah,
I
so-
will double check that.
Not a problem. I mean,
yeah.
it would make sense that I have that
Yeah.
as a.
You can be intellectually knowledgeable about sorcery, but unable to use magic.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting specialization. Yeah.
The specializations that are suggested, she says, going to the right page and making people ill who are watching her stream. Okay. Oh boy. Did somebody say connections?
Yes.
Specializations might be criminals, merchants, nobility, or politicians. You can create your own specializations.
Okay. Can I get some sort of explanations on some of the skills?
Yeah, please.
Comeliness, is that like appearance and
Yeah.
Okay,
Basic physical attractiveness. This assumes clean clothing and
Okay.
hygiene. Poor
Cool.
attractiveness assumes you are less good looking than the majority of people, though not necessarily ugly. Average assumes you are unremarkable in appearance. Not homely, but not all that appealing either. Good assumes you are considered to be pretty or handsome, while great comeliness assumes you are good looking to the point where you might be able to make a living off your appearance.
Sure. Etherealness?
I hadn't read that because it's
Hang
a
on.
very ugly.
Yeah, there's a couple of the fairy skills.
Yeah. The fairy power of malleability. To turn into mist, to pass through walls, fly on a yarrow stalk, and otherwise transcend material reality. This also covers the ability to change, to take another shape, rather than using a glamour to appear in another shape.
So that's important because it's the actual
Right.
shape-shifting skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor ability means you could reach through walls but not pass, become liquid or float in the air without flight. With average ability, you could pass through wooden walls only, become like a thick fog, fly slowly, and shape change to any form of similar size and shape for up to an hour.
Worth reinforcing at this point that if you don't put anything into it, you will be average.
Yes.
Yeah. Good ability allows you to take the form of any creature your size up to 1 day, pass through stone or brick walls, become a thin mist, and fly at bird speeds. With great ability, you could take the form of any creature of your size indefinitely, pass through all but steel walls, and become nearly immaterial. Exceptional allows you to take any desired form, no matter what size or shape, for up to a day, and pass slowly and painfully through steel walls. Bloody hell, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Extraordinary, take any shape, no matter what size or shape, indefinitely, become totally immaterial, fly at incredible speeds, and pass through anything but cold iron.
Cool. Exchequer?
Exchequer.
Credit
This is
rating
not
if
just
you play
the-
Call of
yeah.
Cthulhu.
Yeah, credit rating. Not
Okay.
not just the actual amount of money you have on your person, but
Yeah.
also your general economic status. A poor attribute, it means exactly that. You have money rarely, if ever, and cannot produce ready credit. Average assumes you have a basic middle class income. Good, you're considered to be well off. You own or rent a moderately sized home or townhouse, dine out several times a week.
Sure. And then up from that.
Up from that.
A great exchequer, which is what I have, means I'm considered to be wealthy. I go out to dine nightly, attend the theatre in my own box, I'm a major player in my club, own estates and perhaps a townhouse in the city. Actually have
Cool.
less of the material stuff than that because I'm expecting to inherit what must be the
Yeah.
next level up. Exceptional, the Viscount must be if I'm great already.
Yeah.
Okay. Glamour, I guess, is relatively self-explanatory based on the.
Yep. Ability to create illusions.
Yeah.
Bend the minds of mortals.
Kindred powers?
Kindred powers. Each race of fairy has their own abilities and powers integral to themselves. Rusalki can raise storms, brownies do incredible feats of work. So this is your enchantment.
Okay, right.
Selkies turn into seals, knockers can smell gold. And just to confuse the shit out of people, knockers, another word is kobolds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mermaids can sing and nightmares can cause nightmares.
Okay, so this is my enchantment power.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything else seems okay. And do the strong suit skills that have to play a part in this?
They tend to in a standard member of that occupation.
Okay, tend to, but it's not. You are required to have at least 2 of these at good
No.
or something like that.
No.
Okay.
They are normally in a standard member of that species or that occupation.
Yeah.
You would expect that way to work.
Sure.
You could have someone who's bad at something or exceptionally good at
And
it.
it's a point of right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So
I did ask in chat because I didn't want to
Sorry.
interrupt
Oh, sorry.
Chrono. Is there a limit to the number of times we can take an extra good to get an extra poor? Sorry, an extra great to get an extra poor.
let me confirm that the answer is no.
I'm assuming the limit purely
Yes.
is the number of available skills in total.
There's a limit of common
very-
sense because there's going to
yeah.
come a point where your character just becomes so
Yeah.
min-maxed as to be unplayable. But
Yeah, if you take a poor ability, you have to take it from one of the listed. Any good stuff you can actually make up for yourself, but to be honest, they're fairly pretty much got everything covered. There is no official limit. You can also buy extra poor abilities. Use extra poor abilities to buy exceptional or extraordinaries. But an exceptional ability costs you 2 poor abilities, and an extraordinary costs you 3.
Yeah, you'll run out of skills very quickly if you do that.
You basically you could be crap at everything.
Yeah.
Seriously
Next
considering
question,
being crap at tinkering.
Does fencing also cover things like Bartitsu?
Let me just check.
The stick fighting one.
Yeah, no, Bartitsu. Yeah, Bartitsu's quite.
Stick fighting.
It's stick fighting, savate, and boxing.
I'm guessing all sword fighting comes under fencing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, swords and other bladed dueling weapons, not including knives, which use fisticuffs.
What about if I just want to grab a stick and hit someone with it?
Fisticuffs.
Okay.
Clubs, bottles, non-specialized knives. To use more specialized hand-to-hand weapons, such as martial arts weapons, you will need to create a special ability for that form. So a Bartitsu ability, for example, would give you, logically,
would give
based
you
on
the
what
full
Brett
range.
just said, would give you boxing, hitting people with your cane,
And hitting them with your feet.
and kicking them, yes.
Yes, French kickboxing. And to use it, you'd probably have to wait until I do the seminar in it in a few weeks' time.
It's one that
I'm going
I
to
would
box.
like to have, but I haven't got the
I don't know how to box.
space for it at the moment.
But yeah, you could quite happily create the ability for Bartitsu if you wanted it.
I assume you'd have to create one for something like a bow staff or something of that nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that again would be. I'd have to check whether there was a encompassing martial art for it, or whether you'd just be using that as its own skill, because the skills are quite broad.
Yeah, I would say.
From the way it's portrayed, I would guess that it would be Bojutsu specialization from fisticuffs.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Bojutsu,
no,
I
again,
think,
that's
wouldn't
martial
be covered
arts.
by fisticuffs because it's a specialist thing. I think what you
Yeah.
would have to do is pick. There are a number of different martial arts which grant
Use the joke.
staff use. Any
So
one
both.
of them could be added in as a new ability, which would also give you that ability for whatever else that martial art covered. So probably punches, kicks, or throws in some combination.
There's a lot of blurring between the martial arts as to.
This is where one pulls out one's copy of either the Complete Martial Artist for Hero or GURPS Martial Arts and starts looking up what they all cover.
Hang on a sec. I haven't got that. But let me just have a
Yes,
quick
but
look.
that's only one martial art.
Yeah, but there is a lot of crossover
And it ain't
between.
fencing.
No, I know it's not fencing, dear. Thank you. I'm checking whether this incorporates the staff use, because there is a lot of bleed over between the curricula.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of martially trained as such, more of a self.
If you're self-taught, then I'm inclined to think walking around with a big stick, you're probably looking at fisticuffs, but you wouldn't be particularly impressive with it. And you'd be more likely to be looking at walking stick size
A
than.
little bit bigger than
I mean, walking around with a bow, that's about 5 feet, isn't it? 5-6 feet.
that. Yeah,
for a bow.
but
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be in the typical terms of a smooth bow. It would be more of a wizardry type look.
Oh,
Gandalf
so
staff
actual
would
wizard
be-
staff time.
Yeah, not as flashy or
Ah.
anything, but more of a rustic, branchy type.
In that case, possibly, yeah, a staff fighting ability might be appropriate there for a wizard, especially for a martial one.
Did you say I couldn't take sorcery as great?
You can't. No, sorcery has to be good.
That's fine. I don't know what to put as great though.
Staff fighting?
You
I
could
was
trade.
thinking that because that
Yeah.
would be, with the character the way it is, that would be something that would have been developed from a very early age.
Yeah, or you could trade it in for specialities. great ability gets you 4 specialities if you want to. It's not compulsory.
But what do the specialities cover?
Depends what skill it comes off.
Presumably they can be.
What would the
spread among
specialities on
different skills.
Exchequer be if I can?
The specialities on Exchequer would be cash in hand. Oh, sorry, cash on hand, not cash in hand. Very different thing.
Different thing altogether.
Cash on hand.
Cash
credit.
in brown envelope, cash in cash
That's being
folded
watched
into a
rather
newspaper.
Yeah. Credit, estate value, and worth in a specific country. So, for example, you might be, I don't know, average in Britain. But if you went to France where you've stashed the gold that you brought out of Australia with you, then suddenly your value
So are
would...
you saying that I could be
improve.
exceptionally wealthy in Britain if I had a speciality to spend?
Yes.
You come sit on my leg. There we go.
Can we
So-
put a speciality in an average skill?
Yes, you can put speciality in anything.
Anything at all.
So could I trade my great in for a speciality in sorcery?
You could trade your great for 4 specializations.
One of which could be in sorcery, unless there is a specific rule against it in the rules on specializations.
I'm just headed to sorcery in the list. Give me a moment. Specializations are magical lore, magical perception, or a specific book of lore. Books of lore are not just, I have a book here, it tells me about magic.
Presumably there's a sort of
They-
selections of spells.
Kind
some
of,
way.
they are the concentrated learnings of whichever order you have decided to serve in.
Do you have specific orders we have to follow in this?
There are specific orders and brotherhoods, which you will need to pick one, and that will tell you what direction and what spells you're basically going to gain access to.
Okay.
About the only ones I'm stamping on is I'm not allowing anybody to be a member of the Golden Dawn because they are the closest thing to evil bastards
If you
trying
want
to
bardic
destroy
magic,
the world.
you have to be a part of the Brotherhood of Man.
Grief fish.
Sorry.
I'm gonna hurt you, fish. Mostly emotionally, but yeah.
So if I trade that great, I can get 4 specializations.
You can, yeah. A specialization boosts you in that area 1 level above what you've put into that skill,
Could you
that
remind me
ability.
on the specialties you gave for connections, please?
Connections are criminals, merchants, nobility, and politicians. I'm open to people creating their own specializations.
So
The game
nobility would
encourages
be
that.
the area that would need to be accepted in society.
If you had a noble
It
connections,
depends on
then
what part of society you're moving.
Yeah.
to, because there is more to society than just those with a title.
to getting you into the right parties, nobility would probably be a thing. To get you access to the corridors of power,
Again, depends on your
politicians.
definition of the right parties.
Oh, yeah.
Because bear in mind that everybody with money is going to be holding parties.
Yes.
Connections with the merchant classes is going to get you into those parties.
Yeah, it depends
Thank
where you
you.
want to go.
It's getting into the right parties.
Yeah.
People with money, merchants. Thank you.
Okay. So, is anything else leaping out at people?
So if I trade that in for specializations in
Mhm.
sorcery, I could then put both stuff I think.
Yeah.
Because obviously I wouldn't need the sorcery.
No, your sorcery has to be good.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it can't be better or worse.
I do have one more question on specializations or specialties. Courage.
Go for it. Courage.
Mm-hmm.
Intimidation,
Baby?
resisting fear, and resisting physical pain.
Thank you.
So courage is effectively like integrity and other.
Yeah. It's
your resilient
moral,
skills.
it's moral fibre as much as
Yeah.
anything else.
So my specializations have to come from the one category.
No, specializations go into whatever skills, whatever abilities you
You've got
like.
4 specializations. You can put them in 4 completely different abilities if you wish, or
Mhm.
two in
Did
one
I have
and
to
two in
take any
another, or
extra
whatever
pause?
combination.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Did I have to take any extra pause with that?
No, if you sell a ability quality, you get those 4 specializations, or the 3 specializations if you sell a good. You just get them, and you pick which ones you want.
Do you have the info about the orders or guilds or whatever you want to call them?
Yep, hang on.
Select from?
Yep, let me just buzz up.
Will kind of help me in my.
No, that's fine.
I'm thinking more kind of weather based.
Okay.
Purely from his where he's come from.
You're going to be a bloody druid.
Not quite.
No, seriously. As in Ancient Order of.
Okay.
Which I think is what it's called. And now I'm concerned.
There's a number of different druidic groups, shall we say.
Trust me to throw a spanner in the works.
No,
Blame
you
the new
haven't.
guys.
It's fine. He's okay.
Okay, I have gone for the being poor at tinkering. I'm creating the anti-Sasha here. I'm lousy at stealth and tinkering with things.
That's 2 of us that's lousy at tinkering with things.
Oh, good. Wacko.
What does
Seeing as
education
Drut immediately
cover?
doubles the number of bombs and other complicated devices to be found.
Well, I've got a techie in Coriolis, so
True.
Uh-huh.
yeah. What does education cover? Is that sort of a general knowledge thing, or?
Education.
It is education.
Yeah.
I've just upped mine to great because that means I've got a degree.
If I tell you what the specializations are in it, that might give you a better
Okay.
idea of what it actually covers. You could specialize, for example, in history, languages, sciences, or a specific field of study.
Cool.
Education is your academic study.
Perfect.
If you went to the School of Hard Knocks, then
That's going to be poor.
yeah.
I assume with wizards and sorcery being in this, there are like institutes of education for such arts.
Oh God, yes.
They'd presumably be taught in the regular education institute, since it's a
Common thing.
Yeah.
a part of not everyday
Yeah.
life, but a part of normal life. Be treated just like the other sciences, I'd imagine. So you
What magic? Magic
go
is
to
taught by
Oxford and learn it like you would.
magic is taught by the
engineering.
orders.
Yeah.
Magic
Only
is
by the
taught-
orders.
That's what I'd assume. There'd be institutes purposely for that.
Yeah. Let me just get there because I really wish this was bookmarked. Honest to God, I wish
I
it
could
was
have
bookmarked.
sworn they'd bookmarked
No, they haven't. It's thumbnailed.
it. You
if your
need to
one's
re-download it. It's bookmarked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it now?
Yep.
Damn. Okay.
You must have got it before they did their. R2G recently went
That's a
through
PG one.
and basically bookmarked all of their PDFs. You must have downloaded it before they did that, obviously.
Yeah, I did.
My next to nine question for you, Drut.
Go for it.
I'm not playing a character with any magical traits whatsoever, so
Uh-huh.
does that mean that my sorcery by default is average?
Yes.
It's knowledge of. If you haven't got the talent, sorcery is knowledge of.
Right. Thank you.
So that would be more
Right.
the case you understand it but can't use it.
Yep.
You know
Okay,
what
so
you're looking at.
Illuminated, right. So the Sorcerous Orders of New Europa. Yeah, and I will be re-downloading this file because, oh God, that would make life so much easier. Illuminated Order of Bayern. So, yeah, that's the Illuminati. The current order is established in Bayern in 1776, dedicated to promoting personal mastery of the art and spreading enlightened social and governmental
I
principles.
can perhaps narrow that down then. Have you got anything that comes from Britain?
Right. Possibly, yes.
Because
Yes.
There
Already
and
banned
raised
the Golden Dawn.
You're not having the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Go away.
Although-
I didn't know. I can't see any of this.
No, I know, it's fine.
Whether you take it as that originated in Britain or in Italy or in Egypt is up to
Yeah.
personal
No,
interpretation.
it's just a case of what would be.
Yeah.
towards-
Oh, the Brotherhood of Ra have got Egypt sewn up. They're into
Yeah.
super science. It's awesome.
Wait.
The Egyptian
Egyptian
magics.
super science?
Yeah.
About the same time as Torg?
Yep. Let's have a look. Okay, you've got the Grand Order of the Freemasonic Lodge, so the Freemasons.
Okay.
Are broadly originating in Britain, although let's face it, they accumulate their heritage from all sorts of places.
Like all things British, their heritage threads far beyond the point
Yes.
of their creation.
Yep. Order of the Temple of Jerusalem, also known as the Knights Templars. They're particularly powerful in Scotland.
That's weird. Why Scotland?
Oh. They maintain many ancestral castles and churches there, including their mystical centre at Rosslyn Chapel near Edinburgh.
Huh.
They're also responsible for helping to wipe out the Aztecs, but they had their reasons, apparently. They're very dedicated to wiping out human sacrifice in all its forms.
Yeah, that won't fit.
So when the Spanish attempted to wipe out the Aztecs, which was the church, the Aztec nation took revenge and cursed the church, and that's why the Inquisition happened as a result of that curse. And then the Templars are now attempting to take down the remaining Aztecs on the grounds that they're still into blood sacrifice. It all gets terribly complicated, and it's very difficult picking a side.
But unfortunately
Because
for the
they're going,
Templars, the Aztecs are protected by the Puma Man.
the trouble is you're going, oh yeah, you've got a point, but they've got a point as well, and so do they. Oh yeah, okay, and you have to pick sides on a day-by-day basis, I think. Mystic Lodge of the Temple of Ra are Egyptian. Theosophic Masters of the White Lodge. Oh no, you're not having them.
I'm intrigued as to why now.
Interesting.
They're clearly bad guys.
Well,
Depends how you play it.
they believe they are the agents on Earth of a race of powerful ethereal beings, and I just can't help thinking that they're actually.
Scientologists.
Oh,
They-
they are the
they-
Scientologists,
They
yes.
are kind of the Scientologists, yes, let's face it. I think they're on their way to a rendezvous with an alien comet. Once masters of all New Europa, these creatures who theoretically live on the lost continents of Lemuria and Mu, yes, now guide the White Lodge to higher consciousness through their teachings. It's a mashup of Kabbalism, Buddhism, Taoism, and sorcery. But yeah, it is basically
I don't know about
Scientology.
Scientologists. I think they're the Shoggothologists.
Yeah.
Also found sorcerously sabotaging technological accomplishments or sending mystic dreams to influence those the lodge wishes to subvert.
It sounds like they worship the Migo.
There is a strong suspicion that the Mahatmas, which is what the lodge call these mystical beings, are actually the agents of the Unseelie. So, no,
Or the fungi from Yoga.
or the fungi from Yoggoth, yeah.
Wait, the guys from Yoggoth are fun?
Yep, they're fun guys.
The church, which of course is not based in Britain, it's based in the Vatican, has the Holy Order of St. Boniface. So
Is it just me, or did Drutt forget where the Vatican was there?
that's up. I wasn't sure briefly whether to say Italy or to specify the Vatican.
Well, it's
Vatican City is its own city. Well, it
Yeah,
currently is.
yeah, but it's ancient. Okay, this is the one I'm thinking is probably the most appropriate. The Ancient Brotherhood of the Druidic Temple. Not the Ancient Order of Druids, which
not
is something
the
else
Ancient
altogether.
That's the guys that I used to hang out with. It's a different thing altogether.
Possibly the only sorcerers group with its roots in the Neolithic Age. They're descended from the priest castes of the ancient Celts. Their magic's based in animistic nature magic.
Do we have, because very few people ever bother with this, and I'm intrigued to know whether they did in this, do we have an explanation for why they weren't wiped out by the Romans?
Celtic magic wielding priests.
As opposed to Roman magic wielding people wiping them out.
Romans were wiped out by the Sealy primarily.
Yeah, but they were wiped out by the Sealy after they had built the Roman Empire. That's
Yeah.
just how the empire came to an end. This is we're talking before here.
Yeah.
Presumably they hid a lot.
They did hide a lot. Actually, they did hide a lot. That's where they hid. Okay, fair enough. Druid symbols, their temples and sanctuaries are always in wild places among fairy rings and standing stones. I think we can safely say where they hid, the Romans found it really hard to get to.
You reckon
Because
they actually hid with the Sealy, do you?
I think they hid with the Sealy, yeah.
That, you see that? I'm fine with that. That works. That explains why
that to me works. But they do elemental shapings. If you're specifically working on weather magic, then the manuscript of elemental shaping, which is one of their law books, 7 sheets of beaten silver with raised Celtic characters wrapped in grey calfskin and tied with silver cords. You don't get copies of these. And a recent work on the raised forces of nature by Sir Richard Burton. Knight's eyes just went,
one
what?
would have believed.
Exactly. Details the major abilities of the shamanistic traditions. Disciplines include raise the storm, raise the maelstrom, shake the earth, and raise the firestorm.
All of which are also the lyrics to any number of songs.
How metal is that? I mean, seriously. So I think we can safely say the ancient brotherhood of the Druidic Temple is where you're going with this, Neo.
Yeah, wouldn't it, from what you were saying?
Yeah. So very much the neutral parties in the ongoing wars between New European sorcerers. The various orders are not necessarily at open war with each other, and if they are, then they don't necessarily tell the rest of the world. It's just periodically you might have half a dozen dead mages turn up in back streets.
I mean, we're talking the same sort of political détente as exists in society.
Yeah. You can theoretically join multiple lodges, multiple orders, but that's rare to the extent that like 1 or 2 people ever have. But they teach different traditions.
That you would do in game as part of your character's
It would be a
goals
huge deal,
campaign.
yeah. It would be a big thing. One of the archmages in the metafiction in this defected from, I think he defected from the Golden Dawn to one of the other brotherhoods because he got disgusted at what the plots were doing and the fact that they were allied with Bismarck, and he decided he was having none of it, so he defected to a different lodge. That's a big deal. And yes, Meki, you could have a fairy in a bottle. Pixies exist. You could be a pixie if you wanted.
So going down the druid route, what would I need
He's
to
a
put
wizard,
down
what do you
as
expect, Rack?
specialisation?
Things magically happen.
Specialisation for their scrolling for sorcery.
You've got the 2 books that you just listed.
Available
for specialisation.
Yeah, one of those, one or both, in fact, of those. You could be not as good at magical law and magical perception as you are at those 2. So you could take the law books.
What were they called?
They were called, I'm halfway down the next page, the Manuscript of Elemental Shaping.
I'm going to shorten that to shaping.
Okay.
Purely because I'm typing one-handed.
No, that's you've got an excuse to be fair. Yeah, you need a little tag on your camera, the baby on board. Encourage your child into gaming straight away.
It's alright, she's watching you intently.
I know, I can see. The babies do, they stare at me. In real life, babies stare at me, but I can't decide whether it's with horror or fascination.
I'm a great believer in getting them started on gaming as early as possible, but that might be a bit much.
Did you not see the baby mobile, which was the extra soft, plushy, baby-friendly toys, but it was dice?
I
It was the complete poly
entirely.
set. And on the raised forces of nature, or just forces of nature. Those are the 2 books. So that would be 2 of your specialities.
Then I've got to pick another 2 of
And then, yeah, you can pick another 2.
When you have a moment, Drag,
Yo,
out of interest, what would the specialities or specializations be for comeliness? I'm racking my brains and failing to come up with any.
okay, cosmetics, cuteness. Don't knock it.
No.
Never underestimate the power of puppy eyes.
Yes.
No comment as to whether I've ever actually had to use it, but yeah. Seduction and wardrobe. It's it's not just your natural prettiness, it's how you enhance it and how you use it. I've shocked Reckless. How have I shocked you?
Actually, question on like where the difference is between charisma and social graces.
Yes.
I mean, I'm guessing charisma. I mean, is it that like charisma would be used for things like persuasion,
Hang on.
or intimidation, or things like that?
I'm assuming social graces is more like your just social demeanour.
Yeah, charisma is described here as likability and the ability to relate to others. So it is.
Savoir-faire is sort of what you're looking for,
social
really, isn't it?
graces you could just as easily refer to as etiquette.
Right.
because
Okay.
That's what it's covering.
Specialities for social graces, because that seems to be quite a good way of
Mm.
defining it, is dancing, etiquette in a specific country, knowledge of peerage, or party planning.
When they say dancing there, then that's not the physical skill dancing that you might find in most games. That's knowing how to dance the right dances in the
Yeah.
right place.
Yes.
Dancing, this is long before the era where dancing ceased to be formalised.
Yes, one does not tango inappropriately.
What comes under performance?
Performance.
Is that for the arts?
Yeah. Dancing, drama, singing, and stage magic are
And
suggested
acting,
specialities.
an important skill
And
for
yes.
all PCs. A
Um,
good performance skill stops you from having to say
yeah.
boring conversation anyway.
Acting would come under there, yeah.
Are there any special
Come under drama, to be honest. Let's face it.
specialisations under athletics?
Yes, there are. They've all got their specialisations. Unfortunately, I can't pull these out as a table, not without
that's cool.
actually copy pasting, and not without.
Just depends what it
typing
comes up
them out.
with.
Athletics: climbing, riding, swimming, thrown weapons. Running, jumping, climbing trees. But yeah, climbing, riding, swimming, and thrown weapons.
And just looking at the description of athletics, you could also go with a speciality in, for example, horsemanship or juggling from those things listed there, or swimming.
Riding and horsemanship pretty much going to be the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Listen,
which skill are we talking about now?
Athletics.
Right.
Are you going to have a boomerang?
And I
Who,
never
me?
thought that would come out
Yes.
with thrown weapons.
Yes, I am.
You weren't, but now you are.
I remember an exalted boomerang.
Could be hanging on his belt
best
notch.
weapons to use.
Oh God, why do I
Yeah,
suggest these things?
like Fish said, I wasn't, but I am now.
Oh, why do I ask these questions?
I can just see it now, hanging on the belt, ready to grab and throw.
Yes.
Trademark weapon.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
not a
boy.
thrown weapon.
I just got images of Crocodile Dundee.
Oh God.
That's not a knife.
Do
Now
not let
this
me
is
go
a
get my
knife.
messer.
I think
Okay.
I've got all the skills I need then.
Okay.
By
So-
giving up the one great, I've got 4 specialisations, 4 good and 1 poor.
Okay, so if you have assigned all your qualities,
I think I've got them for what I'm currently planning. I may tinker with them.
okay, feel free. That's not a
I'd still like
problem.
to be able to take some specializations, but I don't know what I would drop in order to get them.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, is one of these abilities something that I only need the specialization for? But if so, I can then drop it, get the specializations.
This is true.
But I haven't found one yet.
Yep.
Comeliness is the closest.
Hamilton was pig and ugly, wasn't he?
Hamilton was, but that Randolph is a looker.
Yeah.
But I don't see him. For example, I'm not going to need things like cosmetics out of that because I really don't see Randolph doing a lot with it. He's naturally good looking, and if I can find the right way to phrase that as a specialization, then I can get 2 specializations in other things.
I think you're probably looking at charisma there. Maximising your natural appearance. Unless you just want to go with the Timotei speciality.
So, Timotei.
You look like you've just come out
hair
from
in
underwater.
streams.
Yes.
Well, I've completely shot myself in the foot in 3 skills.
Okay.
I've taken 3 paws.
Well, at the moment, so have I, plus on top of my sorcery paw. So.
And I'm including the sorcery paw because.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does mean that I could take a great skill as marksmanship and then get a specialization in rifles.
Oh, bloody hell.
Okie dokie.
Got exceptional in
Right.
Give me a rifle and I'm shooting dimes out of the air.
You're the one that should be
it's-
called
pennies.
Wiggly,
Yeah.
if anybody remembers that film.
Yes, I do remember that film. It was rather
Shooting
good,
the nose
actually.
off a pig's back.
Cookie Down Under.
Yes. First, the place I ever saw the difference between the speed of a bullet and the speed
Yes!
of sound demonstrated, because he was firing at very great range, and people were falling over, and then there was a bang.
Yeah, I remember.
Very fun film.
Yes. Very, very good indeed. Okay, so you then pretty much have your character.
Is there a character sheet with a formulated place
There
to put
is
all this
no
stuff?
character sheet.
There are
Really?
no
I'm
character
thinking-
sheets.
I'm thinking of creating one which would be half traditional character sheet, half journal, because the idea is with this that you have a journal instead.
Yeah.
So what I would do in that case is I would put the more mechanic-y things up at the top, such as the abilities, letting you list whether they were poor, average, great, whatever. And then underneath section, and probably onto page 2, sections for each of the things that the diary entry suggests you cover for creating your character.
Yeah.
And that would give you something slightly more usable in game, but also still maintain the feel of Falkenstein character creation. It's whether I have the
Yeah.
time to sit down and actually go through and work one up.
Okay, I'm going to just quickly run through, because I'm using these variations, and because I know at least Fishy has the rule book, so in case anybody else gets one, these will override and in some cases work alongside, but they basically take precedence over what's in the rule book. They modernise the system a bit.
Yeah.
So, for example, each of your abilities is tied to a suit of cards. You have 4 cards in your hand. When you're needing to complete a task, you can choose to add one or more of those cards to your skill, to your ability quality. So that's, for example, goods are worth 6 points, greats are worth 8 points. I have a full list, so I can show you. So, for example, if you had, a physical task that required spades, you could add, say, 8 of spades to your good fisticuffs, and that would give you a total to work from. You're trying to match target numbers.
Is it
Beat them.
is it straight numerical add? So
Yeah.
And face cards are worth
Face cards are it's
11, 12,
standard,
13,
yeah,
14.
14,
Okay.
yeah.
Aces high or low?
Aces are low, I believe, because 1 is the minimum value.
Right.
But I will need to check that because it's gone
Yes,
a
it
bit
doesn't matter
wonky.
immediately. I'm just
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And jokers are wild, can be any suit, and are worth, I believe, 15.
Oh, okay.
And
Yes.
is there any extra deficit for drawing or playing a Joker as there is in Deadlands?
No.
Thank gods for that.
No, because if there was, you would find it. However, what I am working in is normally you can only add the full value of the card from the appropriate abilities suit.
Okay.
So a social situation would be hearts. You would get full value of hearts. Any other card would be worth 1 point. You can still play it, but it's only worth a point, no matter what it is.
Oh.
Can you only add one card to a given task?
In the base rules, you can add as many as you like. However,
So,
this is one of the variations.
Under the base rules, then, if you don't have a card from the appropriate suit, you're probably going to have to blow multiple cards to get you where you need
Right.
to be.
Yeah, you don't have to add anything, but unless you're on a really, really easy task, you're probably going to have to.
So, yeah, that's the other thing I was going to ask about this. Is this a... You don't tell us what the target number is, and we have to decide whether we want to add cards to it, or is this a we know what the target number is and therefore exactly what number we're pitching for?
I will probably tell you.
Because that makes it far more strategic, because you know you don't have to spend cards on things that are low enough target number.
The odds are good that I will tell you, because I tend to anyway, but I don't think I have to.
I mean, the way to handle it in that situation is to go a little bit more like Coriolis, where you're discouraged from making people roll the dice. And in this case, that would be, you'd look at somebody's abilities and you'd say, okay, you are good at marksmanship. You'll make that shot. I won't need... So rather than saying, okay, spend a card, I'll just tell you what happens.
As with so many Talsorian games, it's when in doubt, common sense.
Yeah.
What I am using is one of the variations is called the divorce variation. Which is, if you do not have an appropriate suit in your hand for the skill I am asking for, you can instead argue for the use of a different suit. The example given is somebody's asked to make a hearts check in order to make an intimidation roll. The player says, actually, I'm not going to intimidate him with force of personality. I'm going to intimidate him with the fact that I've got huge biceps.
And I've got these clubs here.
Right, yeah.
Suddenly, that's a spades test.
I would have said clubs looking at the skills list.
Oh, clubs, so yeah.
Yeah, 50
Much like the way
in front of me.
Much like the way in other games, we slide it to a different stat.
Exactly.
Always
This is one...
Whether
I've
you
told
call it that
Jake
or not, the divorce rule is excellent and should be used in every game.
Yeah.
So hearts is social.
Yeah. And
Clubs
clubs
is
is physical. Yeah.
Diamonds and spades.
Spades appears to be
Diamonds
magic.
appears to be intellectual,
Yeah.
I would have guessed.
Right.
And spades, everything else.
Yeah. They are
Social
listed next
graces,
to
exchequer.
each one.
Right, okay.
Etherealness.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm using basically the divorce option of cards from the proposed suit are worth their full value. However, if you argue for a different suit, that then becomes the correct suit, and all other cards are not worth as much.
So yeah, you only have one suit applicable. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can I
So only
suggest
one suit can ever be
other? Yeah, can I suggest one other modification to this? I mean, you don't have to say yes, I'm going to do that, or no, I'm not going to do that now. Feel free to think about it. Given that this is down to the player successfully arguing in favour of a different suit for a specific role, and it only applies to that one role, of course. Might I suggest that the other players, and indeed chat, be allowed to chip in on whether they think the argument has
That's
been
already
successfully...
encouraged.
That
is already suggested. Other players can make the argument for them. So if you think somebody else has got a better chance, doing things a certain way, you can already make that argument. It's incorporated in the rule.
Excellent.
Improvement variation is the implementation of improvement points as opposed to the slightly airy-fairy, vague,
Slightly more mechanical way of improving your ability.
but not completely mechanical. So, I will let you guys decide whether you want to pick resolutions, but I'll give you that detail in probably after the first session. Resolutions are long-term goals.
Yeah. When you
Is
say
that different from the goals we've already picked?
Yeah, they are big.
Are they seriously long-term goals? In which case, they're not really going to be relevant in this game.
They are.
Or are they more mid-term goals?
They are long-term. They can be long-term goals, very long-term, but you get XPs for completing each phase. I decide on what counts as a deed in that phase.
So long as you are working towards that resolution, you have got a chance.
It earns you improvement points, and that's in addition to anything you might be doing as part of the normal adventure.
Yeah.
The example is I resolved to bring my brother's killer to justice.
I resolved to bring my brother to justice.
So the first deed might be obtaining access to the police reports. The second deed, identify the killer. The third deed, track down and capture my brother's killer. Fourth deed, be present as my brother's killer is convicted of the crime. You can see those are not short-term goals that are going to be happening in the space of a week unless you're in midsummer. But each of those stages would earn you an XP, would earn you an improvement point.
Okay.
So that's an improvement implementation. You can only have 3 resolutions on the go at any time, because otherwise, God, you'd be too busy.
I would be inclined to suggest that we forget about resolutions for the first scenario. Give us a chance to get to know our characters a bit better. I mean, I know that the narrative creation system gives us a lot more information on the characters than we might otherwise have. But even so, get to know the game world and the characters a little bit better, and then maybe see how we're going from there.
Yeah.
And come up with resolutions, not necessarily waiting all the way to the end of the scenario, but certainly till we've got a better handle on it.
Yeah.
And try and find a way to bring them in as we go.
Yeah. Having been nicer to you over specializations and the divorce rule, now I bring the stick down a little bit with the hard limit variation. Under the rules as written, there is nothing to stop you dumping your entire hand into every single task.
When do you refresh?
Regularly.
Right.
Yeah, quite frequently is the thing. Pretty much almost for every task. So there is theoretically nothing to stop you just hand dumping. Now, some people were finding this too easy, and tasks were therefore far too simple to, they were trivial to accomplish. So, I am using option 2. This allows dramatic characters more of a chance of lucking their way into success. So, dramatic characters who are particularly skilled in an ability might be able to play their entire hand on a feat. If your dramatic character's ability is poor, you can play only 1 card. Average or good, you can play 2 cards. Great, you can play 3 cards. And exceptional or extraordinary, you can play 4. But if it's something that you're crap at, you cannot use blind luck excessively to boost it.
It avoids the natural 20 problem.
It does.
That in certain games, pretty much everybody has a 5% chance of achieving any physically possible task.
Yeah. So that is the kinder of the 2 options, but that the hard limit basically does limit how many cards you can play. And which is the other one I'm using? Half off option 2. And then I get to be nicer to you again, because cards of an improper suit, instead of being worth 1, are worth half their face value.
Oh, cool.
That's handy.
So yeah, you can still get lucky and have a nice high value card that will be just enough.
The only codicil there is they must colour match. So you can play half value clubs where spades are the appropriate suit, but everything else is worth 1. Or you basically have to match red and black for the half value. You can back up. They're deemed to be associated abilities.
Yeah.
The really kind way of doing it is to give half value for everything that isn't the appropriate suit, and that is just way too kind.
So if we've got say an athletics roll,
yep,
but we've got just diamonds and hearts in our hand, we could just get 1 point for the card that we're dropping down still, because it's not a black card.
It's not a black card.
Whereas if we had spades, I'd get half value.
Yeah.
Cool. Just making sure I've got it right in my head.
Yeah, I think this is a good way of modding it, to be honest. I think that makes it both slightly more forgiving, but it stops you running rampant.
Yeah.
And it still gives you a decent amount of challenge.
Cool. Who says we never run rampant?
Been a GM for over 20 years, mate. If players can, then they will. And the dwarfish requirements, which sounds like a treatise on something, but actually isn't that complicated. Dwarfish requirement is essentially, instead of target numbers being pass or fail and only having about 4 or 5 different target numbers, what this does is it gives me a lookup table which allows for partial, full and great successes.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And it ranges then from elementary tasks where a 2 would be a partial success for a poor challenge.
Elementary tasks are tasks that even Watson could do.
Up to improbable, which is an extraordinary task. An improbable success on an extraordinary task, for example, would be a 26. So that would be the maximum you could possibly have on your best stat. So it is a good table. It does allow basically for more variation in the target numbers. They go elementary, simplistic, laborious, challenging, astounding, dubious, and improbable. And GM frown, presumably. Are you sure? So again, it's a modernization thing, and frankly, the target numbers bear a startling resemblance to what I was using in Witcher. So those are the modifications, which I expect you all to have forgotten about by the time we actually play, but at least they're there.
Absolutely.
And I've given you an idea of what's
We have
what's
the advantage that we don't actually know what the core rules are, so you can just present us with the modifications and nobody will know.
With that.
As much as anything, I know there are people who are likely to be watching this who have played Castle Falkenstein and who don't necessarily have variations on the Great Game.
Yeah, and I have the rule book myself, so I will probably look at the rules at least.
So what the variations on the Great Game book is it's essentially all the house rules that people wrote to our Talsorian about saying, we're using this.
Cool.
It's kind of the concatenated version of that. And it's just house rules that people have put in. I'm not using all of them. I'm using quite a lot of them, but I'm not using all of them. And some of them I would have done anyway, even if they hadn't been formalised in the book already. Mm-hmm. Things like the divorce rule. I would have done that anyhow.
The divorce rule is less obvious in this one than most games, because in most games you've got an actual character attribute tied to a skill. And it makes no sense at all to use strength to determine whether you know the quality of a sword, as I've said before. So on that instance, you'd allow a weapon skill to be rolled with intelligence because you're using it to assess a weapon. That's fairly straightforward and seems obvious to everybody the moment you bring it up. This one, the tying the suits and abilities together, it's less obvious that you could divorce them. So it's nice that rule is there, and I think yes, you're right to be using it.
Mm.
Okay, so if people are basically happy with the outline of their characters, If you can shoot them to me via the Discord channel.
The other way to do it, by the way, if you've already got everything ready, is using VC. You can just drag a text file onto somebody's video window, and it will transfer the file to them.
Which is actually quite helpful.
So if you've
Really?
got it now ready to transfer,
Yeah.
you can do that.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Discord works perfectly well. I've dumped Randolph into the Castle Falkenstein directory that you have on Dropbox, since I have access to it.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, if people have any questions, anything they want to go over, or any tweaks they want to make,
I'm sure I'll probably have some questions, but I'll fire them off on Discord
not a problem.
while I'm working on character.
Yeah,
Got
that's
a couple
cool.
of weeks to get these
Yeah.
Yeah,
finished
so
off before we actually play
next week is
Warhammer
night.
Fantasy Roleplay.
Yep. Back to the sewers of Middenheim.
Yeah. Then the 31st is Coriolis
Yes.
with Fishy. So we'll be back at this on the 7th of April.
Cool. That is in my diary.
Okay.
I look
Don't
forward
forget
to
to
it.
remind me beforehand.
No, I'm nervous. I'm always nervous about players not turning up, so I'm invariably the one going, "You coming? You haven't forgotten. You're not busy." Okay.
I've suffered from rogue players so much over the years.
Yeah.
Mine will be more of a case as long as I'm out of work on time.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, I have no problem if I know that you're delayed, you're late, you're not going to make it in time for the start of the stream. I have absolutely no problem in setting up like we have now, and you being able to leap in when you're ready. And as I said, even if you're baby juggling.
One of the good things
That's
about
fine
using VC is that
why she
because
sat
each
there.
of you has your own video window, it's not like, say, Skype, where if somebody comes into a call or leaves a call partway through, you've got to reorganize everything on screen.
Yeah.
Because everyone's in their own window, we don't need to worry about that. There will literally just be nothing in that space until you join the call, and then you will appear miraculously on screen, and I need to do no further work once everything is set up the first time.
Yeah,
Very
it's
convenient.
really useful. It works extremely well.
Yeah, it's a very good little tool.
Yeah. I mean, it's bizarre that it's, of course, for medical conferencing, but medical telemedicine.
Yeah.
But,
Which is why it does things like the simple file transfer and so forth.
Yeah.
So you can
And window
shove
sharing, just to
records
confuse
back
people.
and forth.
By the way, Drut, did you get my character?
Yeah, I am just,
Excellent.
as we speak, saving it into the correct directory this time instead of the wrong directory, because I'm just that much of a klutz. There we go. Got it. Done.
Cool beans.
Right. In that case, I think we can safely call that. Bloody hell, it's 10:20. How did that happen?
We could call it bloody hell, it's 10:20, but
We
I
could,
think
yes.
probably done would be better.
Yes, we'll call it done. Thank you
Done.
very much, guys.
Done.
I hope you've got a vague idea of the setting.
Yeah. Thanks very much for running us through that.
And a bit of a feel for the world. And I look forward to playing this on the 7th. So,
Okay.
hope to see you guys then. And
Cool.
I will end that stream here.